minutes of January 3rd, 2022.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. Is there any further discussion on these minutes? Did you have a chance to review them?
Yeah, I mean, I made a ton of notes from that meeting and I'm not seeing a lot of, I'm just not seeing a lot of the concerns that were brought up. So I just was wondering,
Under concerns?
yeah.
Are we approving both?
Oh, wait, is this I'm sorry. Is this the public hearing or is this?
These are the minutes for the meeting.
We have two sets of minutes.
Yeah, there's two sets.
Okay, why? I guess.
Right.
I think one was a town plan.
Yeah, that's the next
Oh, the
one.
meeting minutes, okay, and then,
So we're just doing the first one?
First one,
okay, okay.
the first one. So I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on these minutes? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Brian, you're with us. He may not be able to answer. He said, you know.
Says connecting to audio.
He's trying to. Can you hear me, Brian? No. Yeah, connecting to audio. But... Okay, well, these minutes are passed. Let's go to the second ones, the minutes of January 10th, 2022.
So moved.
These are the ones you were talking about. I have a motion by Judy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Gary. Is there any discussion on these?
Will the attachments be included in the record by Brooke Satchard and Jamie Brewster?
Yes, they will be.
They will, okay.
They will be.
And then I'm wondering why we did have discussion around what changes might be made to the town plan. I'm just wondering why those aren't part of the minutes because that wasn't a closed session, right?
No, that wasn't a closed session.
That was?
No.
No,
That wasn't,
No,
right?
it wasn't.
Okay.
I think the
Bob,
only,
which ones are you looking at? I'm sorry, I didn't.
The 10th,
Those aren't on
No.
your website. So do you have a copy of those so I can look at them?
the minutes,
they may
They're
not
on
be.
the website.
they may not be on the
because
website, right,
they're in draft form until they're approved.
Okay.
right.
Did somebody have a copy so we can look at them?
I don't have a copy,
You
do
want
you?
me to get up and do that now?
Yeah, you can get a copy of them.
All it says is,
And I think just part of it might be that what's in here is possibly just the Alexander Street.
right, that's what I
That was
see.
the only one that was
That
we struck.
Right.
we actually did any action on. That's the thing, in minutes, as I've said many times, only have to reflect actions from the board, not things that were discussed. A lot of people approach me about that.
How many days do you
Often.
have to post them after the meeting?
I don't know
I think
the
it's
law.
5 days to
Yeah.
a week, something like that.
Something
So
like
today's
that.
the what?
After they've been approved.
Yeah, but these are draft form. They haven't been
Okay, so
approved yet.
after they've been approved, so you
Then
don't
they're
approve them
posted.
until your next meeting?
Right,
Okay. I'm just trying to get familiar with it.
right. Well, no, we'll approve them tonight, and then they'll go on the website.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Well, I guess I can wait till Sarah gets back, but I would like to see something in there that says the board decided to deliberate further, because we did decide to do that, right? I mean, that was sort of an action. It just seems like, I know people are gonna ask us, like, and people have asked me, so where are we at with the town plan? What did the select board deliberate?
Right.
They
well,
are
we-
gonna wanna know, I mean, that might field some questions, you know?
Right.
Where
Well,
if we say we talked about deliberating further on the other issues raised.
Yeah, we did talk about the other issues, but we didn't do anything on them. We didn't
Thank you so
make
much.
any,
I appreciate
do
it.
any action on them. I guess it can be in there, but it doesn't have to be in there to be a
Right.
legally by statute.
Right. Well, I guess for me, what it would do, just look like from a practicality standpoint, it would allow people to get the play-by-play, you know, the big picture points, and then they can read, you know, they can watch the video.
Yeah, that's the best way, is to watch the video.
Right, but like you wouldn't even know to watch the video to know that at the very end of the meeting, we deliberated and we said, we're gonna deliberate further on these issues. You know, from just reading this, you might think it was a closed case,
Right, well,
right?
that part of the meeting it was. We didn't take any action, so, you
Right.
know, it can be discussed in the future, but it doesn't have to be on those minutes to be that, because it is in the video. What do you folks feel about it? Judy and Gary?
I mean, if you tried to report everything that was said all through the meeting,
You couldn't.
You'd just have, this packet would be
Well,
4 minutes.
Be 120 pages.
Right.
And you're not, well, like Bob said, you're just required, you know, I think we probably go above and beyond
We
the
do.
actual requirement for minutes. And it's not that anybody's trying to hide anything, it's just that, we try to keep things as brief as possible. And, I mean, the agenda, everything that we're gonna discuss is on the agenda, you know, going forward.
Right.
It is. And the video's available. Brian, can you hear me? Must be you can't. So what do you want to do? Are we going to approve these minutes as they are, or are you going, I don't know what we can.
Maybe, I don't know how, Sarah, if it'd be possible just to say there was much discussion on just topic, not what the discussion was.
On the January 10th
On the
discussion of,
January
January
3rd.
oh, January 3rd.
The town plan.
Much
just
discussion
like
around
in
the town
in
plan.
future.
Right.
I'm thinking of the future.
Okay.
So we have the minutes, we have the information from Brooke that's attached, we have the information from Jamie Brewster that's attached, we have Vermont statutes. So there's lots of information that's attached that was discussed at the meeting.
And that's going to be in there anyway.
I did put I thought I put a paragraph in there that
That's part of the minutes.
addressed those points that were made
Mhm.
in those documents.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, it would be,
Sure.
so you wouldn't have to put the whole discussion, except
Yeah,
you'd be writing all day to do that.
right.
But just that topic, this topic, that topic, that might help. Then other people can say, oh, that topic was discussed at the meeting, and go look back at the video to see what the in-depth discussion was.
Okay, I can do that in the
Okay.
future.
Please.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is passed. Minutes are passed.
So we have another one, January 10th.
That's the one we just did.
No, we
did-
just did
No,
the
we just did
third.
the second
Oh.
one of January 3rd.
Okay. All right, so minutes January 10th.
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second?
Second by Gary. Any further discussion on these?
Since the initial meeting where we discussed the, cutting the library's budget wasn't documented on video, I'd like to just add something, about who voted for the initial budget cut, just because I know Judy wasn't present at that meeting and then I
Mhm.
voted against it.
Mm-hmm.
So is it possible to add something under new business number 1, Sarah?
Was that in the January, was that the one, December 27th minutes?
The 10th.
Well,
Well-
it was discussed the week the meeting prior to January 10th, and I believe you weren't there, Judy, and I was opposed to cutting the library budget. So I would like something to go on the record there, especially because that, I believe it was the 27th, the December 27th meeting that wasn't recorded.
Yeah, we also did find out that those figures from the auditor were correct, that the library did have a $500,000 increase last year.
To their endowment.
Their endowment,
Okay.
and they still weren't willing to cut the budget, and we'd like to have that in there too.
Okay.
Because that was disheartening for me, and our finance office is not happy about that, because they were giving us perfect numbers.
Uh-huh.
And so whatever Stephanie was giving us in figures was not correct.
Well,
I can tell you that. I did some research, and it's true, it's in the auditor's report. The value of the fund, their endowment, is 1.7 million. Last year it was 1.2 million. So I think she was saying their advisors advised them not to spend so much of that money, but when you gain 500,000, they certainly could have dipped into it without firing somebody or cutting back hours or anything like that. It's like my 401k. I've got one very similar,
right.
and they advised me not to take out $50,000, but if I want a new truck, I can do it. Same kind of thing.
But Steph made the point during her presentation that if you look at the big picture of their endowment, they were running a deficit on that endowment for
Right, but
several years prior, and so the whole point of an endowment and investments is that you have lean years and you have good years, and that was a snapshot. I'm not saying that the figures we got were incorrect,
Right.
but I think to Steph's point was that was a snapshot in time.
Right. Well, I had a very in-depth conversation with our finance office after that, and
Right.
they're very upset with us and with the presentation that was given because it wasn't accurate.
Well, I think we should lob that back at the library then, because I can't
That's
imagine
right.
that they would,
That's
I mean,
right.
they wouldn't want to call the professionalism of staff or any of the library staff into
That's true.
question.
You're right. You're right.
I think it's, I don't know where this discrepancy comes.
Right,
I'm not
exactly.
a finance person,
Right.
but yeah.
They were looking at some different numbers than what we were given.
Do you all have thoughts about that too?
Sorry?
Do you all have thoughts about that too?
Yeah, I went and met with Tina
Yeah,
and Paula,
I don't know, I haven't done what Bob did, so I'm
Right.
kind of like in the desert with that information.
and I haven't had a chance to tell you guys that because
Right.
it's just before now.
Right, okay.
No.
Mhm.
Anyway, so let's go on with these minutes. Do you have any more discussion about them before we approve them? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Next, community concerns. Do you have any community concerns tonight? Go ahead, Kelly.
We just looked up the regulations for posting on the League of Cities and Towns.
Mhm.
And you have to post them even if they're draft.
5 days.
5 days.
That's my mistake. I posted the other two on the 3rd, and I missed the 10th, so I apologize for that.
Oh, okay, that's fine, just so long as the
I
draft
will
is
post
put up
it
there.
tomorrow.
That's good to know.
Okay.
Just so long as the draft is posted up there. I understand there's mistakes, don't worry
Yeah.
about it. It's really okay.
Thank you.
Thanks
Yeah, it
for bringing
wasn't
that up.
intentional.
Yeah, but it's gotta be there in 5 days.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Judy said 5 days, right?
I thought it was approved.
All right, any more community concerns? We'll go into, do we have any liquor control tonight? I'm guessing.
Yeah.
We do have some?
Bunch of
Yeah,
them in
okay.
there.
Oh, ooh.
There's Sarah. Do I hear a motion to go into liquor control?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Judy, second by Gary. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye. Aye.
Oh, Ryan, welcome. We are now in liquor control.
So there are 4 renewals
To
for
find it.
2022. 2 for RL Valley, both their locations, Lost Nation and the VFW.
Okay,
What's the difference between first, second, and third class?
First class is you would sell beer and wine on site, like Maple Fields and you would buy your beer to consume off premises. Third class is spirits, so liquor. And then outside consumption is you would drink your beer on an outside patio. In a designated spot.
Thank you.
Okay, do I hear a motion regarding these?
There's no problem, right, Jason?
No problem with any of them.
Okay. I make the motion that we approve all 4.
I have a motion by Gary, do I have a second?
Second?
Second.
Oh,
Judy got you, Brian.
oh, you can give it to Brian.
Okay.
Any further discussion on these? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Brian?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Anything else for liquor control?
Nope.
Do I hear a motion to come out?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion by Judy to come out and a second by Gary. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Thanks, Brian. We are now out of liquor control. All right, as I said before, we're gonna bump number 5 and number 6 ahead of number 1. And first up would be accept Heidi Bennett's resignation from EMS position. Bill?
Hi, thank you for letting us move those up. Heidi Bennett is one of our part-time staff who was a long-time volunteer prior to that. And she has submitted her resignation from her part-time position as of January 28th.
Bummer. I rode many years with Heidi. She's a great asset to the town.
Yes, she is.
Do I hear a motion to accept her resignation?
So moved.
I have
So
a
you
mo-
want to say it and fall out?
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion we accept Heidi Bennett's resignation from EMS.
I have a motion by Judy.
With regret.
With regret.
And do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Jess. Wow.
I know Heidi.
Yeah, I do too. She's great.
She's great.
Any further discussion on that? I'd like to have a nice thank you letter given to her. That'd be great. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is passed unanimously. Yeah, she was great. She was solid on there for many years.
The organization
Yeah,
for quite some time.
yeah. I was proud to run with her. All right, next, add new member to EMS roster, Hillary Giacomelli.
Yes. Hillary was referred to us by another one of our volunteer members. She's in the process of permanently relocating into Lamoille County, currently making the move up from Brooklyn, New York. She's a nationally registered EMT and has applied to membership on the volunteer side. Once she gets settled, she'll be available to us, best guess is probably mid-February. We've got her application, we've sent it to HR, her background check has been completed, and we're ready to go on with this part of adding her to the roster. So when she gets here, we can hit the ground running with getting her on board.
Great. Do I hear a motion to appoint her?
I make a motion we accept Hillary Giacomelli for the EMS roster.
I have a motion by Judy. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Jess. Is there any further discussion on this?
I murdered her name.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Brian?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed. Thanks, Bill. Okay, next, we're going to go back up to number 1, discuss the town plan. I'm going to turn this over to Todd,
All right,
if
thank
you
you,
will.
everyone. So it's in your package, too. I'll pass them out. These are the exact same things I passed out at the last meeting. We're going to do a very iterative process here and go step by step. These are the mostly housekeeping changes we looked at the last meeting. Well, the village trustees accepted these at their last meeting. So I'm hoping the select board can start the meeting by helping us get on the same page as the village. And this is not the sewer language treaty, that's next, it's step number 2.
Can we get some of those? Where do you get those?
Same ones as last time.
Yeah.
We're gonna cover.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I was hoping to entertain a motion to accept these and move forward with these. These are mostly Cemetery Association changes, Morristown Corner Water Corp changes, the agreed on, the trailer park changes, and the Alexander Street changes that you've all made previously.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make the motion that we approve the changes.
I have a motion by Gary. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Brian. Okay, do we have further discussion on these?
Can somebody explain to me, I'm sorry to be a pain.
Could you introduce yourself?
I'm Kelly Connolly. Can somebody explain to me why we're getting, I still don't understand. Why Shutesville Hill is in Morrisville's town plan, a library property.
I can handle that. Before we get off topic, I want to explain that the public hearing is closed. This is a select board working session. So,
I don't care.
Okay.
I'm asking you a question and I paid for this. So I
Understood.
want you to answer it.
The,
Or you want, I
if
want
it's
you to give me a venue to answer it then.
the venue would be the next hearing.
I think I read on the, when I saw the thing that we were gonna discuss the town plan.
This is a select board discussion, that's not a public hearing.
I mean, we can answer Kelly's
Absolutely
question.
Sure,
okay.
yes.
You
I just
know
don't want to get off into another
Right.
long, wieldy discussion.
We're not gonna get into a long, winded discussion. I'm trying to decide what I wanna do here. And I'm asking some very specific questions, and you guys have not really been a whole lot of forthcoming with this. And I'm not really too picky, I try not to be, but you're not been really forthcoming.
It's just, it's been discussed so many times.
I think the short answer, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think we can give a really short answer, right? Is the reason that this particular corridor and the possible truck climbing lane is being discussed is because we're looking at Morristown as possibly a commuter town, and we're looking to reduce the commute time to Burlington, is my understanding. Is that correct?
Or preserve it,
Or
yes.
preserve it?
But didn't the guy last time say the state wasn't even gonna consider it?
The board really can't accept new public information. You're going to potentially prejudice the hearing. The hearing's closed, they can't take the new commentary. It's okay to ask a question, but to get into further on that, they really can't do that tonight.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could poison the well, so to speak. There's a
Okay.
legal process
I
happening.
guess there is gonna be a petition going out.
All right, is there any further
There will be
discussion?
another public hearing, most likely, so there's another chance for public input, just not tonight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
this,
think, and we do have the information.
You know,
We do have the information in our packets about, like, I think it was Jamie Brewster who brought the information about the state and the climbing lanes and the wildlife corridor. So we have heard that, and we do have the information in our packets.
The packets are online. If you go to the agendas and minutes button, there's a spot that says packet. So you can have access to the same packet that they have.
does it say town plan packet?
It'll say the state, the 118
Select board.
packet.
Can we just make a copy for Kelly? I mean, is that a big deal?
It's 58 pages. It might be long
okay,
for a little bit. I can do it if you'd like.
This is the truck climbing lane. This is what we had in our packet.
I can
So it's
print it out.
It's the same.
Yeah, I can print it out.
okay, so we have a motion on the floor. Is there any further discussion on these?
Give me a minute here. I didn't look through this.
I think we should can we just go through point by point? I hate to belabor it, but just so I know what we're approving.
Yeah, these are the changes the trustees already made.
Yeah.
Presented at the previous meeting.
Uh-huh.
Page 12 is clarification as requested by Jamie Brewster. Page 17 is the Morristown Cemetery Association factual updates. They were very nice to get back into their information. On pages 19, that's adding a sentence to the village offices, the adequacy of the space, is that the town offices only carry to the village. On page 25, I'm updating the amount of homes in Morristown Corners on the Morristown Corners Water Corp. On page 26, that update is from Morristown Corners Water Corp. Same with page 27, is giving better updates on their system. On page 35, barely one word, 2 words. On page 36 is Alexander Street. Page 51 is the previously requested select board change for the trailer park language. And then pages 63 and 66 are just recapping the changes we just discussed.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do right now is get to the same plan the village trustees have, and then we'll talk about additional changes after that.
Okay, so we need to approve what the village approved, and then we can discuss further.
Exactly.
Great, okay.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Brian?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is passed unanimously.
Okay, second step, at the trustee hearing the other night, they deleted the common good sewer paragraph that was discussed at the last select board meeting. So this is a change the select board has not made yet, and the select board needs to make in order to match the village trustees. And want copies? So this language was discussed by Laura at the previous select board meeting. Laura attended the trustee meeting. They also agreed to delete this language. And if the select board agrees to delete this paragraph as well, we'll have the exact same plan in front of the trustees and select board, which is a great place to kick off any potential change discussions from. So
And
this
then-
one-
and then, can you tell us why the trustees chose to eliminate this?
Without speaking for the trustees, are there any trustees on? No. I don't think so.
Yeah, Dan's on. Oh, he's the
Yeah,
planning
Dan's the
commission.
Chair of the planning council.
Yeah.
The trustees really looked at this. There was language in the previous versions of the town plan that talked about the town taking over the water and sewer departments of the village offices and having water and sewer under the town's roof.
Correct.
Once those were deleted, this paragraph was kind of an orphan, so they basically said if the village water and sewer is not going to be sold to the town, and we're going to give it to the town, this paragraph wasn't needed either. Laura, do you want to chime in on that?
That was my understanding. They said it was a moot point since you had taken it away, and it's not a standalone paragraph,
Right.
so they,
No reason to leave it in.
that's right.
Thanks, I just want to make sure I recap that
Yep,
correctly.
thank you.
So that's why they took the paragraph out.
Do you need a motion for that?
I need a motion, you need to make another motion to match this, and you may, I think Judy may want to discuss this.
Yeah, shall I wait till after the motion?
Yeah, someone makes a motion, goes on the floor, then it's
Yeah.
discussion.
I have a motion by Judy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Gary. Okay, further discussion.
Yeah, I'm concerned that if we take something like this out, that we may be losing an opportunity for grants to come our way. And that's the only reason I want to leave it in. Not to force us, because the voters, if we're going to support any large project with water and light, especially a sewer plant increase, then we would need to go to the voters anyhow. So there's a stopgap there, that the voters would have to approve or not approve money for us to spend.
It's a very fair comment. Ultimately, the sewer is a very important asset to the town, and I think you've all seen the news when St. Albans City and St. Albans Towns fights about the sewer plants. If the trustees, if there's a difference of the trustees, not that our trustees who do this right now, they said, that's it, sewer's not coming across the village line anymore. Morristown is up against it. We'd be in a lot of trouble. So that's why the paragraph is in here, because the sewer doesn't end at the village line. The sewer, like the water lines, extend from the village into the town, saying it's a common good to both. So that's why the language is in here originally. And also, like any town plan language, is there to chase grant funding. But the trustees are the sewer plant operator. They didn't think it was necessary, so they cut the language.
Laura, you have a comment?
Part of the discussion that we talked with the trustees, and this might go to Judy's point, and I've talked with other folks, that conceivably you could change the language because we do have residents in the town that use it, and in conjunction with what the state statutes say, you could change it to town users as opposed to broad term town, so that folks like myself who are non-users wouldn't be concerned. That was my understanding and I actually thought that's what they were going to do, was just change it to make a distinction that it's town users instead of just town residents.
How do we make that distinction, and can you flesh that out a little bit?
Well, if you read through it,
Well, I understand the distinction between a resident. Well, I understand what a resident is, So how are you gonna decide, is it going to be, a user is someone who's using a business in the village, and there's gonna be an extra fee or tax on
If you have
top
to look at
of
who's,
the
I mean,
service?
currently, Morrisville has granted, quote, town residents, who are, basically are on the septic system, so they're currently on the septic system.
I'm sorry, are you saying town residents or village residents?
No, there are town businesses. There are businesses who happen to be across the village line that are technically in the town, but they are still on the town or the village sewer, because the sewer lines go just outside, so it's a short perimeter. I would have to say that I would probably contact legal as to how to phrase that. But, you know,
Well, it's like
basically.
concept two, and
There are residents in the town, it becomes a tricky situation, because let's say the village needs to upgrade, wants to upgrade the sewer plant, they have to bond, and their bond, the village voters are approving the bond and paying for the bond, but yet there are town residents and town businesses that are still on the sewer system. So that's what the paragraph was trying to get to. There was good discussion, as Laura noted, about changing the paragraph to instead of town residents saying town users of the sewer, but I think because of the complexity, it just got too messy, and the trustees who run the sewer fund anyway decided to cut the paragraph at the end of the discussion. They thought that was the easiest way to deal with it.
rather than put users in.
Rather than we talked about it, and they decided to cut the whole paragraph. They didn't think it was essential.
Is there any way that if this is out of the town plan, and we have to have something in the town plan so we can get grants to support a sewer upgrade, is there any way to get around it?
You can always update the town plan.
So it could be amended,
Correct. I mean,
like in the middle of the process?
So last time we did a major rewrite of the town plan was 2013. That town plan survived exactly 18 months until the whole Herchak Arena, Mount Arena
Right.
zoning change happened, and that we did another town plan amendment just for that parcel, which kicked off a couple other chapters as well. The legislature generally adds chapter requirements and enhancements of existing chapter requirements each session to the town plan, so it's generally not quite as easy as, oh, we'll just update that one thing, because there are other things you have to update too. Like last time for the Herchak amendment, 2013 was soon after Tropical Storm Irene, and we had to update our flood resiliency chapter. That became a new plan requirement, a whole new chapter.
Right.
So even to update Herchak, we had to create another flood resiliency chapter, and this time we update the plan. There are far activity requirements. There's always more requirements, but I'm being long-winded and saying we can always update the plan, but there's always a little bit more to it.
So,
Yeah.
like, to update a plan, amend it, what kind of a time frame would we be looking at?
Same process.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
There is a statutory provision to amend a plan, but it's really the same process, and it doesn't extend the plan date. So I think amending a plan is just crazy. Instead of amending the plan, you update the plan, and then you extend the time period of the plan.
Okay,
Right.
So you always amend. It's the same process. There's no shortcut in statute.
all right.
But you can always come back and do it later. Honestly, a sewer plan upgrade, something like that, you're potentially chasing duty, is a big ticket item. It's a long-term process. There's plenty of time to update a plan, to add language in, and then approve the plan and then write the grant.
Okay.
And right now, since
Okay.
they've got all the commercial high BOD users under control, there's a lot of room with the sewer plant right
Okay.
now. We're not gonna need to,
Nearly like 50%
Yeah, the sewer
capacity.
plan,
Yeah.
the sewer plan has generations of capacity left.
probably gonna be 10 years before we even think about it.
Yeah, they're at 50% capacity, the DOD issue has been solved, so the village sewer plant really needs the extra residential flow, so they want more residential users,
Right,
which helps spread the cost of
It
the sewer
helps.
operation among more ratepayers.
yeah.
So they're looking to grow their customer base.
And it helps with the BOD issue anyway.
Correct, yes.
Yeah.
So
More
given-
residential flow.
Given that information, then I can feel comfortable accepting this change.
Yeah. I think if we were at the level or really close to the limit, then we might consider that, but I know we're not at all.
It's a good point, Bob.
Yeah. Spent a lot of time on that.
It's a percentage, but do you know, is there like a number in terms of the user number? You said we're at 50%.
800 users.
Around 800.
Okay.
Yeah.
They use it
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
All right. Is there any further discussion on this one?
Sorry, and that's user accounts, that's not single person, that's.
That's user account.
That's accounts, yeah.
accounts. So that account could be a one-person household, a three-person household, or concept two.
Or concept two with 60 people. Well, not at the moment, but. All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Brian?
Aye.
All right. Motion is passed unanimously.
That puts us in a great place, so we're in the exact same place the village is right now. So now, part 3 of the process, we're going to discuss the questions the select board had and the planning council answered at its last meeting, and go through any of those if you want. That's the email Jess said, the response, you got the email, and the responses are in. Please note, so at this point, we have the same plan, the trustees are done with the plan. Any changes that we make in addition require more trustee hearings. The trustees have no other changes at this juncture, so keep in mind, anything we do change is going to trigger more trustee town plan hearings. Doesn't mean we shouldn't look at the changes though. So, where do you want to start with this, Jess?
I just want to clarify that these are not my changes. These
Your
are
email, sorry.
these are changes that were brought up during the public hearing and during the subsequent discussion among the select board members. So I had taken notes, and I had Brooke Satchard's document in front of me, and so I just added my notes in an email because I was concerned about whether we were going to act on any of the points that we had discussed after the most recent public hearing. So I...
Email starts at page 35 of your
Yeah.
package.
35 of 53.
And you had the responses from the
And
planning.
I wrote the responses from the planning council after
Alright.
discussing at the last meeting. Yes. So the first one, was a question about the language of the town plan for 1 acre lots. I don't need to read all this, the response. In a nutshell, the planning council thought, given the extreme housing shortage in town and the rapid acceleration of housing costs, it would be a mistake to put ourselves in a corner by deleting this language. It basically takes a toolbox out of our options as a way to fight the ongoing affordability and housing crisis in town. So there's no plan to do 1 acre lots. There's no plan. There'll be a robust public process in order to get to 1 acre lots, where the planning council would work with the landowners and see where they wanted to go, and we need select board and trustee approval, and in addition to planning approval, but they don't want to tie our hands right now by eliminating that language, especially in a plan that's supposed to last till 2030. That was the gist of their response. And there's Betsy Ann's on the call too, if you want to have them chime in at any point. Any questions on the response, or?
Oh,
Top right.
Alan wants to,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, Alan wants to comment on the last
Is that Ellen?
issue. Alan from, is it from last?
Oh, Ellen. Alan, go ahead. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Motion's passed, so doesn't really matter. It's okay.
Well, we'd like.
Motion's passed, right? Motion's passed. We're done.
Not on this one.
No, on the store plant conversation. Motion's passed. I was trying to comment.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
We
it's
didn't see it.
okay.
No, why don't, I mean, we can hear, can we hear him?
Well, I mean, just my 2 cents is that, Bob, I emailed you the grant information for everything that's happening with store plants at the state. You never responded to me. I emailed, trying to send it around to everybody. There is grant information. There is grants available out there for the store plants. This is one opportunity for the town. As Bob, you have represented to me over and over again that you would support the local businesses in this town with the store plant problem. While we don't have a store plant problem right now today, we certainly had a store plant problem 2 years ago. And, we had a big problem. Our backs were against the wall. Water and
Well,
light
we
trustees.
knew that one high-strength user that caused the problem.
Understood.
And that's been figured out.
Understood. But water and light and the trustees have no interest in pushing forward what you have relayed to me, what is the greater good for the town, which is increasing capacity. This one statement within the plan, while I understand how difficult it is to separate the 2 plans, This allowed the town the ability to still have a foothold in conversations with the sewer plant. This one strike of the line takes everything out, and it's over. And the trustees have full control now again. And if we ever want further development in this town, if we ever want to resolve the sewer problem that will come back, it was one user, Bob, you're absolutely right, one user.
I'm way too familiar with that whole situation.
But you're absolutely right. If one user can create such a disruption in a small sewer plant, then we really need to be paying attention to the ability and capabilities of that sewer plant.
Well, I think the trustees are now. They weren't, and then they had to figure it out, but now they're policing it pretty tightly, as I understand.
You and I both know that what happened was the one person got it right. It wasn't the trustees that got it right.
Well, and I know they accused you guys too, and that wasn't the source, you know.
Understood. But we have a lot of people, a lot of businesses, both from the town and from the village, that put liquid into that sewer plant. And the town should have a say, somehow, some sort of teeth that bind themselves to that sewer plant. It shouldn't just be the village. That's my 2 cents. I respect and appreciate that the motion has passed, but I still think that the select board and the town are leaving something on the table here, a piece of leverage, a bite into that sewer plant. That sewer plant impacts the town as much as it impacts the village.
Right. Well, that's the problem with having a village and a town. You know, the village is a power company and sewer. You know, the town isn't. You know, and should we have authority over that? Maybe. But if we need to, we can. We can make changes with the town plan and do it. You know, because we have to decide on everything together anyway. I think if we got to where we needed that growth, if we're over 50%, I'm pretty comfortable. I'm not worried about the next 10 years as long as we don't have another high-strength user come on and put us over the edge. But as I said, I know the trustees are right on it now. But I totally understand what you're saying, Alan. I get it. We went through this together. You and I both know, maybe not everybody in the room does, but
I do.
yeah. But I understand what you're saying. And I think the town still can have a say in it if we need to. But at the moment, it didn't make sense to keep that one paragraph in there if the other part was gone. And if we need to come back and revisit it, we can.
Alan, I don't see where this paragraph gives us a lot of connection to the water and light. It just was about more or less financing. That's what this paragraph was about. And I trust that the information I'm getting from Todd is accurate and that we can then, given time, we can put it back into the plan so that we can get grants for any needed upgrades.
Yeah.
I hear you all, and I hope my voice is coming over. Like, I'm just kind of speaking loudly because I don't know if you can hear me or not.
Yes.
But I just would like to highlight one more time that 2 years ago, we were at almost 90% of our sewer plant capacity.
Right.
Because of one user.
Yeah.
Now we're back down to 50, and that is a wonderful place to be. But this is a 10-year plan. And that's my only concern with all of this.
Right.
Is that 2 years ago, the sky was falling, everything got fixed.
Yeah.
Now everything's cool, but in 6 months or 2 years or 5 years, we could be back at this situation again, and the select board would not have the grit to be able to dig in. And that's my only concern. But with that, I know it's a long meeting. Thank you so much for the time.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Alan.
I feel like I didn't have enough information, so I
can't.
can't change.
You can't, we're not stating public information, you're
going to
poison the well here.
Well, but it's not, is Alan speaking on behalf of the planning
The comment
commission?
really should have been allowed anyway.
Yeah.
You gotta be really careful with public comment, you're not in a public hearing. Just
Right.
like the DRB closing and deliberate, if they take information, rely on it, they can get sued.
Well, he's a member of the planning council
You know,
also.
this is not, I I understand what Alan's saying, and I don't disagree, but this wasn't one of the things we did.
Right,
Well,
You asked specific questions.
Thank
it
you.
wasn't one of them.
thank
We
you.
also allowed comments from Laura Streeter, who's not on.
That was to clarify the trustee
Okay.
comments,
Mhm.
which is before
And
the
you had
vote
voted.
closed.
Yeah,
So going back to option one, it talks about the average sale price in the last year, Morristown has gone Morristown has gone from $200,000 to $421,000. We have a housing shortage is one of the tools to address it. They don't want to cut this option out of the plan. They recommended you do not do this.
And we just did, I don't know if this is appropriate, but Governor Scott was talking about this today. And the, getting mid-income housing in communities, I don't know how he's proposing to do it, I don't know how it's going to happen, but supposedly there's money flowing to the communities in Vermont for that.
Housing is a huge issue right
Yes.
now, and availability and the price thereof. So we kind of need the view from the board was we need all tools to help fight the issue, and especially for the length of till 2030, we don't want to foreclose on any options. Just because it's in here doesn't mean we're going to do it. It's an option to do it. If we do decide to do it, there's a robust public process that happens at that point. Chances are this never happens, but if it doesn't in there, it's guaranteed not to happen. We lose a tool to deal with housing affordability and the shortage in town.
Well, I think the point that Brooke was making wasn't necessarily that it completely had to be deleted, but that the actual area was better defined at least. So in the plan it says less remote parts of the rural residential agricultural zone. I mean, what does that mean? That's so, it's vague. I mean, I understand the town plan is meant to be vague, but I know Brooke's concern and people who live in the rural residential agricultural zone are worried that suddenly there's going to be tiny little subdivisions popping up around them, and that's upsetting for them. So, and it's also not part of it seems antithetical to the goal to concentrate our development in the downtown village area. So I think what Brooke is asking for is this be better defined at the very least. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. The planning council chose not to. They basically, in the response, the language of the 1 acre lots in town plan is potentially of 2, so it's not tied to town's hands later.
I'm.
And it talks about the hearing process and neighbors will be notified.
Mhm.
Any approval of any 1 acre lots would have to go through the planning council, through the select board, through the trustees, through the appeal process. And
May I ask a question? Is there anybody here that's on the planning?
yes, Etienne, I was just gonna ask Etienne.
Etienne, can you tell me how many times somebody's requested something to the planning council to build something and you've denied it?
DRB.
Well,
Are you talking about the DRB or
It's not,
Okay, so the DRB, is there anybody here for that?
Gary?
Gary. So how many times has it been denied when somebody asked for something? That's the point, you know, Katie's Falls can't handle anything. Morristown Corners doesn't want it.
There were people from Fairwood Parkway, I believe, who came to us because of a zoning change that was being suggested.
Mhm.
It came before us, if I remember the whole process, and we denied it. So it does happen.
we
Are you
changed
on
it.
the DRB?
Nope, I'm on the select board.
Okay, so when I want to subdivide my place and build something, where do I go?
You go to Todd Thomas.
Or you go to the DRB.
I don't go with Todd Thomas. So I go to the DRB.
Well, if you're on a building permit, you do.
So,
You aren't gonna get the DRB unless.
Who is this?
Yeah,
Correct.
okay,
But
So-
regardless,
how many times have you denied something?
I don't know.
A lot?
I'm on DRB too.
Not a lot, but there've been denied,
And
and
what were
there's
the
been a
reasons?
lot of permits have been conditioned, you know, due to the responses by the abutting property owners
Okay.
and things like that. I mean, it's just,
it does happen.
you have to take every application on its own merit. You can't.
I'm just scared
Can't make
if
a
you
blank
leave that in there and don't define it any better, then all of the outside areas that are the reason we live here is gonna be gone. just gonna be gone, because it's gonna look like the village.
Etienne, can you comment on this?
Well, I believe Todd said it most accurately, that because we would have to then go through, let's say it's an area was identified that would be zoned, we'd want to perhaps use a 1 acre zoning. We'd have to go through significant further public review in order to change that local area, that specific area, that specific project, you might call it. And that's before any permits are in place for building anything. Do I have that correct, Todd?
Yes, you do.
But didn't you just say if it's in the town plan?
The town plan is meant to be a 30,000-foot document with big ideas. It would be inappropriate in a town plan generally to say, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, because that's what the zoning process does after a public process. So the town plan lays a potential foundation. It'll be up to the planning council, this select board, or future select boards, and future village trustee boards to take the ideas of the town plan and try to make regulations out of them. That's where you put the house on top of the foundation.
So even if it's in the town plan, it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
We've said that
Oh, wait a minute.
many times.
Now, he said at least 75 or 90%, 75 to 90%, I can't remember the number, of the stuff in the town plan was gonna get done.
75 is
Was it-
3/4.
Yeah, that's 3/4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You get to pick what 3/4 you want,
Well,
right?
no.
Because this has to go through a specific process. Just because it's in a town plan doesn't mean it will pass that process.
I'm sorry.
And a lot of
I have
it,
written law for the federal government, for the state government. I have been an investigator for 20 years for both, and I don't understand a thing you're saying. Sorry.
We're trying not to tie our hands by eliminating options. There are options in the town plan. You don't have to take all the options. You can choose to act on this. The planning council and select board trustee would have to all be in concert to act on those options in the future. We're just laying out possible avenues for us to respond.
yeah, and you can also do things that aren't in here. You know, you can do a lot that's not in here. You can't, this is not the Bible. This is not, well, we can only do what's in this town plan.
The zoning is
It's
the
not
Bible.
like that.
Yeah, the town plan is a aspirational document. The zoning is the Bible.
Yeah. And that's what people get hung up on
Yeah, it's
and
not
keep
a
hearing
zoning
it.
proposal. I agree.
Yeah.
If it's in there, then that's the road to the end of to the house.
Potentially,
Yeah,
not,
I mean, this is to Kelly's point, this is a vision document, and I think we are having a discussion about our vision, and we certainly got input from the public about their vision.
And it's not the same as your guys' vision.
Well, it may be just some of our vision. I mean, we don't
Yeah.
necessarily all have the same.
well, we're
opinion.
also residents.
Yeah,
We're also taxpayers and residents, just like you are.
Mm-hmm.
We happen to serve on this board, so we have a voice too.
and also our job is to represent the will of the people ostensibly, so it is our job to listen to what people want and what their concerns are, so.
Yeah, we certainly
I
have.
personally, would like to see this, the 1 acre lot change, the lot size reduction, more clearly defined. I don't feel comfortable with the current process that, I don't really want to leave that up to the process. I'd like to more clearly define it. That's
Can you make
that's
that,
my,
can you make that as a motion? Let's discuss it in terms of motions.
okay.
So you're moving to,
I move to change the language on page 7 and 8 of the, I'm not even sure if it's the current town plan.
we know which one you're talking about.
Okay,
The 1 acre lot
I
language.
move to clarify the minimum lot size language to better define the area that is referred to as less remote parts of the rural residential agricultural zone.
You have to say what areas. Oh, really? On the motion, I think you should say what areas. If we're gonna define the town plan.
I don't know what areas.
So that's kind of the point, though. The point is, if it's.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that is the point. I don't know what those areas should be.
this is a process to define those areas, so if you don't like the process, you probably move to strike the language. Or you have to alter, or you have to propose an amendment that gives a specific alternative.
Where is it in the town plan?
Page 7. It was in the former.
The pages should have changed.
Yeah, page 7. This plan also supports reducing the current 80,000 square foot minimum lot size to no more than 40,000 foot minimum lot size in less remote parts of the rural residential agricultural zone.
Can you leave the areas that you have in there and just not reduce the lot size?
I'm sorry, leave the areas.
Leave the areas like the Katie's House and Morristown Corners and not reduce the lot size. I think that's a compromise that I think would be acceptable. Because you still need the larger lot sizes.
So Todd, can you direct me, there's 2.5 paragraphs here. Am I looking at the last paragraph?
The last
It's
paragraph.
in bold.
The bottom paragraph.
Bottom of the last
Talk about
paragraph.
the one sentence only. This plan also supports reducing the current 80,000 square foot minimum lot size to no more than 40,000 square feet minimum lot size in less remote parts of the rural residential agricultural zone.
That means 2 acre to 1 acre. 80,000 is 2
1
acres.
Point to me.
Right here. Right here. This is right here. Right there.
So I would recommend either a motion to strike or a motion to amend it.
And if we amend it, I mean, I'm looking at the rural residential area. It's the entire area that surrounds.
Yeah, the intent is the area will be right around the low density residential, so around the green. The zoning is supposed to be concentric circles emanating up from the center of town.
Right.
So you're talking.
It's a big area.
It's a huge area.
Mhm.
I don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
But you can't change the
Reducing
whole
the lot.
thing.
And probably you should, because I mean, that's really what the planning council is supposed to do. I mean, the select board has a limited town plan role. You're the veto, you're the veto authority, you're the approval authority.
Right.
You're not the planners in the room though. The planners are the planning council.
Exactly.
So that kind of change, if you're not comfortable with language, you really just, you motion to strike it. Someone's going to change the language. To your point, Bob, maybe you're right. It should really go to the planning council if you want to amend it. But the planning council does not want to change it, recommends it not be changed.
Exactly.
That was unanimous vote of the planning council at the last meeting on Tuesday.
What do you want to do?
Motion to strike it, Jess?
I want to make a motion to strike it if that's my only option, because I don't have the knowledge or background to make a call on the zoning for the rest of the, I mean, I think to that point, this is such a huge area. It's alarming to me that the minimum lot size could be reduced that much to the entire surrounding area of the village. So I move to strike it.
Okay, I have a motion by Jess. Is there a second?
Second?
Second by Judy. Any further discussion?
So what are we voting to strike?
You're voting to strike the sentence that says, this plan also supports reducing the current 80,000 square foot minimum lot size to no more than 40,000 square feet minimum lot size in less remote parts of the rural residential agricultural zone. So that middle sentence in page 7, bottom paragraph.
Yeah, I just read it. Okay. I didn't know if you were voting to strike.
Strike that.
Yeah.
No, just that one sentence.
2 acre to 1 acre. Is there any further discussion? You got it, Gary?
I'm good.
Do you understand, Brian?
I think so. I'm not sure.
Can I help you in any way, Brian?
Chris Voltaire is asking,
Well, I'll say this. I'll agree with Jess that this document is a vision. It's nothing in writing that is holding us to things. And I trust Todd and I trust our planning commission who are working on it weekly, more often, sometimes. And I just trust them. And I don't like to make the decision out here in the middle of no place. And Again, at the same time, I'm not feeling that well. Last week, I wanted to tell Todd that I'm sorry what been happening to him, and I thank him for him and his planning commission for all the work they've done. So I don't dare to do anything just on a whim, because I think the planning commission should be involved in this.
Yeah, Etienne is on, but I agree with you, Brian. We leave it up to the people that are experts about it, not us that are just the rubber stampers.
Brian, only thing that is in the response to the select board's questions in your package, I don't have the page right here, the planning council recommended not to make the change. That's the only thing I really had. I don't want to speak for the council.
Yep.
Is there any further
Thank you.
discussion? Any more discussion?
Can you address the Chris Wiltshire?
This is not a decision, correct?
This is a decision.
Oh, this is a
If you
decision.
strike the language, you cannot respond with 1 acre lots to address affordable housing within the 10-year life cycle of the plan, or 8 years at this point.
I guess my comment is more around, I mean, we can talk about this for 6 hours and change your town plan, but at the end of the day, does that mean anything? I mean, it's not a decision, is it? Isn't it just guidance for where we want to go in the next 10 years?
Right.
Yes.
It is guidance, Chris, but it is a decision. If you take the language out, that's a tool that's not in the toolbox. The planning council can't just go recommend proposed 1 acre lots to the select board and trustees on the outskirts of the low density residential zone because it was struck from the town plan. So it is a decision.
But I thought you said it was a vision.
It's a vision, but when you have certain things that you need to have, you can't enact zoning changes later that don't have their foundation in the town plan. That would be spot zoning. You can't just say,
Right.
we're gonna do 1 acre lots on Needle Eye Road later when it's not mentioned in the plan. The plan is the foundation, the zoning bylaws are the structure of the regulations.
So this vote is a zoning change.
Sorry, Chris?
So this is a vote for a zoning change.
It's not a vote for a zoning change, it's the plan. It's a vote on the foundation or not. You're either going to have this tool in the toolbox or you're not going to have the tool in the toolbox.
Whether or not to have it in the plan.
Because we don't trust
Understood,
ourselves.
thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
So, I've been listening to this discussion.
Can you introduce yourself, please?
John McDowell. So, it seems like part of the discussion has been at times that this is a vision, that this is just an aspiration of what we might want, and yet, and then it's okay for it to be vague, and it's okay for it to be that. But on this issue, it seems it's really important that we go from 2 acre to 1 acre zoning. I guess I'm at least tonight, I apologize, I haven't been in every meeting, but I'm not sure I fully understand why we want to go to 1 acre zoning and why, similar to other issues that have been discussed tonight, it can't be altered and changed and amended and updated later in the future. If it should so happen that part of this town we would like to see as 1 acre zoning in 2 or 3 or 5 years' time, can't that happen like some of the other issues we've talked about tonight that can change in 1 or 2? I mean, Bob, you said
It can all be
it's not
changed.
the Bible.
Right.
Correct.
It can all be
If
changed.
we're having a discussion on this issue, I gotta tell you, I agree with Brian, I agree with Jess that, and I agree with, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, that, yeah, it seems like we're just opening the door to, spot development around town where we do have 1 acre zoning. We're saying that, I mean, if it's in the town plan, we're saying this is something that we want. And I think, I'm not sure, at least this audience.
They're voting on whether
Wants this.
I have to.
So,
I think with one of the things with Don is like the sewer system upgrade, as Todd had mentioned, would be something that wouldn't happen within like a couple of weeks or a month or 6 weeks. It would be a long-term discussion and then plan being developed and so on and so forth. So there would be time for us to amend the town plan to be available for grants. That was my biggest concern. I think looking at this, if what Governor Scott said today comes to fruition and there's money available for medium income housing, and we had the possibility of having different zoning in these areas, we would then be ready to go in that direction. But if we don't, then we have to go through amending the town plan, and then we're far behind the process. That's how I'm looking at both of these issues. They're very different in time frames.
Okay. Is there any further discussion on this motion?
Again, the motion is to delete, where my sentence is. Feel free to read it after funny.
The motion is to delete the line on page 7 that says, this plan also supports reducing the current 80,000 square foot minimum lot size to no more than 40,000 square foot minimum lot size in less remote parts of the rural residential agricultural zone.
Thank you.
All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Yay.
Nay.
Nay.
Motion fails. 4-1.
All right, moving on to the second item from the Select Board comments and concern. Brooks Catcher talked about adding bicycle riders and pedestrians to a list of groups to support the aim of reducing car traffic downtown. Seems like a no-brainer. The Planning Council agreed. They said they're fine adding this language to the plan. Please keep in mind that this change we made on Tuesday night, making changes after Tuesday night will create the need to warn more town plan hearings than was already warned.
Does that mean this Tuesday? Tonight?
Yes, this is talking about tonight. Additional changes after tonight, and the vote will not take place until later in the spring. So the trustees right now don't need one more hearing. The trustees, if you make this change, will need a second hearing. So the question is the change valuable enough to make? So maybe you want to handle this one last after the other major issues. Some of the other bigger issues are more substantial. I think everyone agrees with, probably everyone, I don't want to jump ahead, probably everyone agrees with this language, but is it worth holding extra hearings for?
Like, that could also be another grant funding situation.
Sure.
What would proposed language sound like?
Brooke has a proposed language that would say all road improvement projects, including those mentioned above. This is page 16. So right now the change reads, this plan also supports the use of car sharing, carpooling, and other means to minimize the amount of cars needed for village and especially downtown residents. And he's proposing that we add all road improvement projects, including those mentioned above, should be planned with measures to increase safety and accessibility for bicycle riders and pedestrians. I mean, I think that's, personally, I think that's a no-brainer.
There's no objections to the Planning Council to make the change.
That's in our packet somewhere, isn't it?
Is that a substantial change? It's gonna.
It will require another trustee hearing. We're making changes to that anyway, so the only thing you're doing tonight is right now is you've made changes already with step 1 and step 2 tonight.
Right.
So you already have to have at least one more public hearing. What you're doing by making an additional change, so right now our plan matches the trustees' plan. If you make this additional change, our plans don't match, the trustees have to catch up, which means they need another public hearing.
But this looks like it's worth it.
Never mind.
Okay.
It just elongates the approval process, that's all.
So I think I'd like to have that language in.
Yeah, council has no objections to it, it's nice language.
Okay. So do we need an amendment? Do we need a motion?
We need a motion.
Okay.
We're moving on everything.
I move to add to page 16, the language, quote, all road improvement projects, including those mentioned above, should be planned with measures to increase safety and accessibility for bicycle riders and pedestrians.
I have a motion by Jess. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Judy. Is there any further discussion on this? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion passed unanimously.
All right, next comment, number 3 from the email in question. It's a question to add additional language regarding protecting wildlife corridors. The planning council did not support this language addition. The language of the plan is taken directly as a quote from the state. This is a new town plan requirement. It said this language must be in there. This is our language. We, not knowing what the state will do, we don't want to mess with the language that the state is, basically we've quoted word for word what the state wants in our plan.
What page is that?
This goes on, second page of this document.
Page 30.
Page 30, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, Brooke's second to last comment. So it's, the language is a sentence of art, so to speak. It's, you're not, it's what's, in order to get downtown designation, this is one of the things that has to be in your plan.
Yeah.
This is the sentence they want. The planning council didn't think it was a good idea to mess with it.
I agree.
But it doesn't say to change that, it just says, the recommendation is that the MCC should work with the planning council to develop additional conservation criteria.
No, that's different.
Oh, is that different?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sorry.
It's a support research into protecting wildlife corridor.
So do you need any action by us?
You don't need to make any action unless you want to make a change here. We can move on, or someone wants to make a motion to change the language. It's not a recommended change.
Right. This is part of getting our downtown designation.
Correct.
I'm not changing it. We've gone a long way to try to get that. And we're, well, probably halfway to getting it. Which brings lots of grants and all that, tax incentives, all that, to name a few. All right.
Just making a motion? Or
I guess I am lost in my own email, so we can move on. I thought I had it.
All right, move on to number 4
Look at
then.
the bottom of the page, yeah. The very bottom.
Right.
Sorry, Tom.
So on-
And what page were we looking at?
Page
Page 30.
31.
Oh, page 30.
Flip that over, Jess.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Is there a motion from anyone?
Well, no, I mean, if no one can support it, it's moved.
No.
Okay. All right, moving on to number 4. There's a question about, discussion about the village line and moving it to make properties more tax exempt. In a nutshell, the planning council believes deleting the language supports expanding the village boundary would be a significant mistake. The village line is an archaic concept, and its main remaining function is a negative consequence of Morrisville paying more than $100,000 in annual taxes to Morristown. When more than 2/3 of that money gets collected, leaves our community and goes straight to Montpelier to pay state education taxes. There is no legal nexus between the village boundary line and local zoning. The council believes the recent pushback about the village boundary language in the town plan is mistakenly related to zoning. Change or expanding the village boundary does not constitute a zoning change. So they go on to say the village line language should be left in the town plan. So significant community assets like electric substations, hydro facilities, and water tank that provides drinking water to village residents that happen to be located outside the village can become tax exempt by moving the village line at some point, which requires a lot of work and literally an act of the legislature. So this may never happen, doesn't mean we shouldn't try. And the planning council spent a lot of time on this. It's actually more complex than you think. So there's a difference even between things the village owns as the electric department and things the village owns as the village or as the water department. So if you're talking about a substation, for example, right now, those substations are both located, the main 2 ones are Trombley Hill and on Morristown Corners Road. They're both located outside the village line, so they're taxable. So the village, those are worth a decent amount of money. They're not cheap. There's a reason none of us have built them. So they're taxable. So the village pays annual taxes to the town. And as Bob would like to say, what's the education percentage? 80%?
80+%.
Let's say at least 2/3. More than 2/3 of that money the village is paying to the town since Act 60 now leaves our community and goes to Montpelier. And the addition of all these properties is more than $100,000 a year. The electric isn't as bad as the water or the village. The electric, the reason for that is the payment structure. The village's electric lines go into 7 other communities. So other communities are paying those taxes to the town. So we're actually getting money from Johnson and Stowe and Wolcott for some of the electric monies. But the water and sewer properties, the village properties, are taxable only because they're outside the archaic village lines. Those are all town tax money within our borders that are going to Montpelier. So it gets complicated, and even depends on which part of the village owns it and how bad the waste, how much money we're wasting. So it depends on who owns it. So the electric ones aren't as bad. The water and sewer wholly owned village properties are much worse. Just because the money is all internal. I mean, some of the money, it's not great to send any money to Montpelier, you don't have to, but it's not as bad, I guess, from a local perspective. You're sending people money from Johnson and Stowe and Wolcott or wherever to Montpelier.
Can I just touch on 2 points there?
Sure.
Or maybe a few, but the first is the assumption that the money goes to Montpelier and then never comes back here. Because from my understanding, a state education tax goes to fund education, and we have schools in this town.
Of course.
Correct? Okay. I just want to be, that's a really common thing that I hear, and I just want to state that I don't agree with the idea that all of our money that goes to Montpelier never comes back to our town. Because that's part of what funds our educational system. Am I correct?
True. I guess the question is, do you need to send that money to Montpelier to start with? I think the state funds the educational system. That money's coming to Morrison's way. Just question how much we're sending versus what they're giving back.
I think that it sets up maybe a false, like to me, a dynamic that doesn't have to be contentious. Like, I understand that we want to save money in taxes,
Sure.
but I don't necessarily think that putting the idea that the money that leaves here never comes back to us out there in our town plan is necessarily like where I want to start from. And then my other question is, and I'm sure, I'm not an expert in that arena, but I also want to ask, do we have a dollar amount and how much taxes we are spending on those?
Plan. It's over $100,000 a year. We're sending out. It's not like we send $100,000, $120,000 a year. We get that dollar for dollar. There are 250 other communities in Vermont, and the state divvies that money up. So yes, of course, we're getting some of that $120,000 back, but it's not nearly 1 for 1. It's 1 for 252, or whatever the formula works out to be. So
yeah, I mean, we're also like Morristown is not a gold town or gold town. I mean, it's not like we're losing all that money either.
Correct.
Yeah. So.
It would be, this would be, yeah, if we were Stowe or Gold Town, this would be even worse than it is.
And I don't know, and I guess, so there was concerns from the NCC, and so I just want to know if there's anyone who can speak to that, like why the NCC is worried about.
Well, how would you ever incorporate all the village entities within the village? How would you draw a line on the map to incorporate all of those? Or would you have to make special districts?
If you look at the village charter, so there's a village charter right now. It describes the village limits. It starts in the center, goes clockwise around the village. It would literally be as simple as you're adding in this parcel, this parcel, this parcel. So I think the low-hanging fruit would be potentially the transformer on Morristown Corners Road. You're not that far from the village line. The Katie's Falls Hydro Facility, that's a big ticket item. That's not too far from the village line. That's really, Katie's Falls isn't an incorporated village, but it's a village on its own. Morrisville Water and Light serves electric and water to Katie's Falls, but it's not technically in the village. If you jump that village line just over to the hydro station, that becomes tax exempt. Those are very valuable high tax items.
But then, I mean, there was concern somewhere I read about Bugsby Springs. I mean,
that one's pretty far away.
I mean, how are you gonna?
Yeah, that was used
draw that in.
Yeah, that was an example in here. So.
And you also got the substation on Trumley Hill and
Morristown Corners.
You got one on Furlan Pit Road. You got one down here, which this one probably wouldn't be too bad. Katie,
Okay.
but still, I think it would be awful cumbersome to try to.
I don't think as far as Bugby Springs either. The Bugby Springs is in here because the village is, it's just an example, the village paid $3,659.28 in taxes to Morristown for this 82-acre parcel last year. That's only taxable to the outside the village line. So that may not be the best example. That's probably one of the furthest away properties to get to. And again, the village boundaries isn't in anyone's control in this room. It's ultimately, we propose it, it's up to the legislature, or we have to the legislature to debate the village bounds. So probably we're not getting a Bugby anytime soon, and we probably never get there. But there are closer things like Trombley Hills, a developed area, the north end of town. That's reasonable to me.
And you get the reservoir up there as well.
Correct. I mean, we're paying taxes. I mean, the village is paying taxes to the town on the water system that is used to the town village residents, just because of the village line. And again, I think the mistake in this, Jess, which was like the second hearing, the first time we heard any blowback on this language, the planning council thought there was a mistake that the village line changing the village line enacts a zoning change. It does not. The village line is not a zoning change. The village line really only exists right now to help what Morrisville and Morristown pay to each other and send 2/3 plus that line to Montpelier. That's why they said it here. It's what's the language? Archaic concept. Because few people in this room actually know where the village lines are, but they have real tax consequences, including utility poles. Utility poles that are located outside the village limits in the town are taxable. The village has to pay taxes to the town, and those taxes after Act 60 don't stay in the town anymore. A chunk of them leaves and goes to Montpelier. Some does come back, but not on a one-for-one basis.
I think it would be awful complicated. I mean, to include every power pole, everything is.
You won't get them all, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't try to get some of it. Or you can strike the language. This is the select board veto power. If no one wants to make a motion to strike it, it gets removed from the plan. And frankly, it'll probably save me a lot of work over the next few years to not staff this committee, so I wouldn't be crestfallen by any means.
What does the planning commission think?
Planning council thought it would be a big mistake to strike the language. Planning council believes deleting language that supports expanded village boundary lines would be a significant mistake. That's the quote.
What if they sold all those properties to the town for $1 and they leased them back for $1?
Well, it was brought up at the hearing. The village trustees were somewhat offended by the suggestion that the village is just going to give properties to the town. The village has an obligation to its ratepayers to get the best deal it could and would sell them on the open market, is what the trustees said in a nutshell.
I've heard that one.
There's no free lunches. They're not going to give anything free to the town. It's going to be for sale.
Yeah.
Now, who's gonna buy the substations and the power plant?
Green Mountain Power, I don't know.
Maybe it'd be a good idea.
But then, I mean, does that put those property puts it out of our control? I don't know.
It's a pie in the sky possibility.
Exactly.
Big pie.
That's a good way to put it.
Big town plan vision here. Try to save money locally. That's all this is trying to do.
Yeah. I'm fine with leaving it in there. I go along with the planning council.
We need one more. That's two. We need three. Brian, Gary, yes? Or someone makes a motion.
Brian, what do you think?
I'm not sure. Leave it alone, I think.
Leave it alone. That means leave it in there?
Yes.
Okay. So that's three. I'll move on from that one.
I just think it'd be awful complicated. But.
It's very complicated. You've been on the legislature side. It's a big pie.
Yeah, I mean, that's a 2-year deal to.
Oh, it's more than 2 years. I think it's 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, but they got to vote on it 2 different times.
2 years in the legislature.
They got two different sessions, so it's 4-year process.
Correct, and it's probably 2 years here to get it to a point where it gets voted on in the legislature. I agree. This is not an easy undertaking.
Doesn't your town plan call for setting up a committee to study it?
It does. The town plan calls up to setting up a committee to work on it.
I nominate Ron Stancliffe to head that.
I have my thoughts on it. I think that they do away with the charter, and Morrisville is just like Katie's Falls and Morristown Corners. It's just a bigger development in the town of Morristown. And then all the property is not taxed, it's all town property.
There was language in the plan originally, not to get too far back away from the 25th version, probably the 16th version, that talked about doing away with village lines and it just becoming the town. That language is struck by the trustees.
Yeah, of course it was.
The trustees want to keep their thumb in the pie. They don't want to give up any say.
Well, they'll lose their jobs.
Right. But I agree, I thought I agree with that. But it'll never happen.
Final say.
We
Is it
don't.
Trustees or do you?
Well,
We have to agree together.
Stop you guys.
that's what the
They have
trustees,
to all go in the same direction. That's part of the problem when you have a village trustee and a select board, dual board meeting authority.
Right.
If they're not on the same page, it doesn't go anywhere.
And that happens a lot.
So, I mean, for me, Tom, it'd be a hell of a lot easier if I had to take zoning and town plans just to one board and not have to replicate these hearings twice in front of two different boards. So I would love to see just one board in charge of the town. But I think people have been trying to get there for 80 years in this town, and I'm not sure
We
I'm
tried.
everything leading into that promised land.
It was so much so that probably 10 years ago, the trustees and the select board members didn't even speak to each other because of this situation. When I first got on the board, it was not good. We've come a long way.
Come a long way. All right, moving on from this one?
Yes.
Okay. Next one. Class 4 to Class 3 roads. A concern about some of these roads. The Planning Council shares that concern. They don't want to see Class 4 roads converted to Class 3 roads either, except where the Class 3 roads may become beneficial connector roads. So in the town plan, they wanted me to stress that they want Class 4 roads to be used as recreational amenities. However, there's just a couple exceptions in there. The pulled out exceptions for Rooney, Gallup, and Darling roads where they could be important connector roads. And again, it's talking here for, they wanted me to emphasize, it's not asking the town to pay to upgrade these roads. It's giving the okay for developers to upgrade these roads. So for example, Rooney Road's been upgraded by a developer in recent years as they own the property, expand their driveways up. So you're getting better roads that are up to the select board's jurisdiction. You're given the permit to work on the road. You get to decide what the travel lane width is, what the grade is, what they're going to do with the road, what they're doing with stormwater, all that fun stuff. But they think it would be a mistake to foreclose on that opportunity to have our roads upgraded only on important connector roads by non-taxpayer dollars.
Do you know where that is in the town plan? So I don't see it.
Page 15.
Yeah, page 15. Planning Council said on page 15, it is very clear that the town plan does not support the conversion of Class 4 roads into Class 3 roads. Class 4 roads are described in the plan as recreational amenities. However, 3 exceptions to this policy are noted in the plan: Darling, Rooney, and Gallup roads. These roads are called out as exceptions because they could all be important connector roads, including for emergency response if their travel ways are ever completed. Please note the town plan calls on developers and not tax dollars to pay for and upgrade the Class 4 road sections of these roads. Since the small sections have already been upgraded by private entities, and work being done for the upgrades at the direction of the select board anyway.
Once the road is upgraded, then it becomes the responsibility of the
Correct,
town.
you were correct about that. So if it becomes a Class 3 road, then you're plowing it.
Yeah.
The question is, you added the position, does the position you just added cover that, or is that the position you added just catch it up to where we are now? I don't know the answer to that question.
Right. Of course, there's the other extreme where, like Gallup Road, a person built a garage right in the middle of Gallup Road, Class 4 road. So they used to connect onto Coal Hill. Right, Kevin?
Wasn't my permit for the record.
Right. That just gives you an idea.
And then you had the farmers were fencing off the road on Gallup Road.
Oh, they still do.
Yep.
They still do.
Yeah, it says it's still a fence road in here.
Yeah, I love the idea of having to be used for recreational, but that's a
Gallup
hard
Road is
sell.
one of the main examples they use, and that road may be hard to ever do because of the terrain and the topography. But if you live up by Bob and you want to take your kids to the elementary school, instead of doing one of the other cut-throughs, Darling Road's are, the right-of-way's already there, all the way from Route 15 into Route 12.
Yeah,
Bob can cut from Darling Road down to the elementary school, drop the kids off, and never have to come down to the village.
right.
That's why they thought that was an important road to make an exception on. So their policy is class 4 roads should stay as recreational, but there are 3 roads in here that they think, after studying this, spending a lot of time on it, there are important connector roads that we shouldn't say, no, you developers at their own non-taxpayer money can't extend them.
Yeah. Yeah, that Darling Road hasn't been that long. And my dad, when he first got his license, that was one of the favorite parking spots is at the end of Darling Road where the round barn is. Because it used to be a regular road.
And just because the developer brings it up to class 3 town standards, it doesn't mean the town has to take it over.
That's another good point.
Yeah, you don't have to. Whatever you take over is up to the select board. I mean,
Yeah.
you are the select board. You have the ultimate authority on all this thing. Future zoning
Right.
change is up to you. Future tax laws is up to you. Future road plumbing is all up to you.
But it's also criteria to make that too.
Right.
I think our work is done here.
Yeah.
Is it necessary to call out these roads in the town plan?
I think they're only called out, and I don't want to speak for the
As an
council,
example.
because As an example of the exceptions, because it was a
Okay.
blanket policy saying, do not upgrade class 4 roads or recreational amenities, except for these kind of these few roads, because they're actually important connector roads.
What are you gonna do?
Don't make a motion either way.
What kind of a motion are we making?
A motion to.
To end the discussion?
To cut it out of the town plan, or.
Oh,
You do
this,
that.
that, like at number 5.
Yes.
Correct.
Oh, okay, no, all right, no. I would leave it as is.
I'll leave it as is.
Yep.
Okay.
Brian?
Leave it as is.
All right, so on to number 6 then. Number 6, there's nothing to do there. The Alexander Street, the deletion was requested, and the planning council deleted it. So
And we voted on deleting.
you've already
that.
voted on that one.
Yep.
Yes.
So you're done with this. Anything else you'd like to change tonight? Otherwise, I'm just making that, where's Brooks' sentence? It's right here. I'm just adding Brooks' sentence in to page 16 regarding, I'm doing step 1, which we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
Doing step 2. And then in step 3, I'm making one additional change, adding Brooks' language about bicycle and non-motorized users. All road improvement projects, including those mentioned above, shall be planned with measures to increase safety and accessibility for bicycle riders and pedestrians. So that's the one new change tonight. This is the one new change we're going to take back to the trustees. They'll have a hearing on this change.
That's a good change.
Do we have to come back and have another hearing on that one?
You made changes tonight. Every time you make a change, you create another hearing. So
For us again?
for us again,
Yeah.
if you ever want to get to the town plan, you've got to get through a hearing without making changes.
Right.
And then you can go to your next regular meeting.
It'll be something else next time, don't worry.
So in your meeting packet, I gave you a little timeline, and we just pushed it back a little bit with that one change. That's okay, it's a good change. And we're at my page 7. It's hard to read pages, you can't look at your finger, sorry.
I know, you can't look at
Yeah, it's
it
too long.
anymore.
I'll send you-
Is
so-
it in our packet you gave it to us?
Yeah, there's a timeline there. Page 18. So on page 18, just to give a timeline for the board and everyone else, number 1, complete. We did the January 3rd changes tonight. Number 2 is complete. You did the common sewer good language deletion tonight to match the trustees. Number 3 is complete. We have Brooks' addition to the plan. And then number 4 is I have to schedule another 2 hearings. So we made changes on the 18th. I have to warn a hearing for select board on February 14th, but now because of the additional change from Brooke, I have to warn February 16th and another plan change for the trustees later in March. So these dates down here for March 2nd and March 7th are getting pushed back to later in March or April, because I have to have another hearing for the trustees. The way the statute works, you can't make any changes prior to 15 days, earlier than 15 days before the final public hearing. So you make a change, you have to warn another hearing, it's 15 days has to pass. You have a hearing, if you ever have a hearing and don't make changes, which is a goal at some point, we'll get there. then you can vote on the plan at your next regular meeting. So I have to warn one more hearing for the select board, which I'll probably push off to February 14th now, unless you want me to do it earlier. I'll match up with the trustees. I can still be February 14th and 16th.
That's Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
Are people coming?
You could bring a Valentine.
Why don't I do this?
Yeah, and our daughter, yeah. That'd be amazing.
Why don't I warn the 16th to the trustees, and then warn the next select board after that, give the trustees a chance to respond before we warn on the select board meeting.
Okay.
That probably makes more sense. So I'll warn a meeting for the 16th to the trustees, and what's the second select board meeting in February? I can't really see from here. Oh, it's not there.
It's not there.
So the February 22nd. The 22nd, not the 4th, so the 14th on the meeting?
No, it's gonna be the 7th and the 22nd, because
Oh, your
President's
first,
Day.
you just, there's the president's, okay.
February.
So the 22nd
That's-
would work.
is that-
So I'm gonna
is
warn
that
a
on
trustee
calendar?
hearing on the 16th, and a select board, I gotta flip that so I can see. Is these first, what is the first and third Wednesdays of February, what are they, sorry?
The 2nd and 16th.
Okay, so the select board will stay, the trustees will stay the 16th, and I'll warn the select board for the 22nd. That will be your next town plan hearing. Then I'll have to warn one more to for the village further out than that, which will, and after that, if we get through changes, meetings without changes, then you can vote, but we're still making changes, I need to warn more hearings, so that's what I'll do. So the next hearing for the select board will be the 22nd. I'll get that warning out by the end of the week to the newspaper, and then we'll go into, we'll see what the trustees do and then respond appropriately for a final trustee hearing. Maybe a final. Maybe
So
not a final.
we're probably not looking at March 7th.
Yeah, March 7th is out the window, because the change we made for Brooks language, the pedestrian language, March 7th is out the window.
All right.
So this, any town plan votes, you could have voted on this because you're voting your budget meetings. You could have voted this before town meeting, so it's a different select board. I was trying to avoid that if possible. A different select board is now going to be voting on the town plan than the select board. Potentially.
Right.
You might all get reelected.
I could raise all kinds of questions.
Yeah, you might have a whole new board voting
Yeah.
on the town plan after.
Back to the drawing board.
Right.
I'm trying to avoid that, but it's unavoidable at this point. So, I will see you all on the 22nd for the next hearing. I'll get the warning out this week.
Todd, thanks for all your work on this.
No problem.
Thank
Just organization at this point.
Are you staying for the rest of the meeting?
I was gonna zoom in for the rest of it. I was gonna go home, eat dinner, and zoom in. Because I thought you might want me in the discussion.
You trying to trap him in here?
No, I just wanted to thank you for posting on Front Porch Forum recently about the planning, I think the planning agenda.
Yes, they asked me to do
Yeah.
that.
Will you be doing that on a regular basis now?
Yeah, I can update that. So we've talked about it. Eric doesn't want it. Etienne, is Etienne still there? Etienne and the board, he left. Etienne and the board did want it. Eric
They
wants
did?
the town website to be the Nexus information, and he doesn't want any
Right.
Front Porch Forum posts.
I've had the conversation with him, but I
So-
want to talk about it with us
At
tonight.
some point, the select board, yeah, you're gonna have that discussion.
That's why I put that on the agenda
So I'm
for
kind of stuck
tonight.
in the middle where my direct boss is saying, don't do it.
Right.
Planning council chair is saying, do it, and I'm like, well, select board's gonna discuss.
Well,
it.
we can say,
Eric says no Front Porch Forum.
he doesn't want it.
Doesn't want it.
He's off social media, he doesn't want it.
Not-
He says it's not accurate.
Social media.
Is,
I will add, so I used to do a bunch a couple years ago. I was spending about half, some meetings, not all, some meetings were crickets, but many meetings, I'm spending a half day of taxpayer time responding to Front Porch Forum responses from people from
Right,
Hyde Park or Woolkit that happen to be on our forum.
right.
Or people in town that are on our forum. So literally, I put out a poster meeting and half a day's gone because I'm responding to Front Porch
But we
Forum
can
posts.
just put it as, just this is a notice,
Yes.
not to respond
Yeah,
to.
Planning council, let me
No
know, so this
questions.
email is not monitored, you will not get
Yeah.
responses to
Right.
this.
Yeah.
okay.
But then they're looking for some leadership from you because Eric has a different opinion.
Right, oh, I know, I've got my opinion, we're gonna be
Wait,
talking
and-
about it.
Are the agendas for the planning commission posted in the newspaper?
No, you really couldn't do that. You really retard the ability of the planning commission to react to anything. To post something in the newspaper, like a DRB, it basically takes Gary about a month to get in front of the DRB. Because you have to notice in the newspaper. So the town plan notice I'm gonna submit on Friday. What's today's date, the 18th?
Mhm.
So I'll submit it on Friday, which means it goes in the paper on January, so it goes on Friday, January 20th. I'll submit it the 21st.
Yeah.
It shows up in the paper on the 27th. Then there's the 15-day waiting period for the public notice period, and then you can't meet till, so basically it's on the 20th, I can't meet till 3.5 weeks later. The plan, like your agenda, you couldn't really put it in the newspaper, or at least you won't be able to set agendas on Friday anymore. If you put it in the newspaper, you're gonna set agendas 2 weeks early. And so you won't be able to respond to things in a timely fashion. You're really, kind of cripple yourself to respond to things in a timely fashion if you're gonna only discuss things you put in the newspaper. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right, you could announce the meeting and put a link to where they can find the agenda.
Correct, yeah. you can do that.
Exactly.
Okay.
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 I'm glad you cleared that up. That was helpful.
Yeah, so it's a question of Eric saying no. Gary's a DRB chair, we haven't discussed it yet. I'm sure that'll happen after this meeting to see what you all want to do. So
Yeah.
I used to do it, I stopped doing it because it was a really cumbersome process to respond to everyone. Sometimes you get 40, 50 emails
Right.
on an agenda that generally aren't really germane, and some of them aren't even from town. And that's not the best use
Well, like I
of your
said,
town staff.
announcement form only, not to
Yeah,
respond.
that's what the planning council discussed, so.
So, sorry, what you were saying, if we tried to put the agenda in the paper, my sense was like for ads, you get the ad in on Monday. For the citizen, you get the ad in on Monday and the paper comes out on Thursday? Or it's Friday,
Monday's
it's
like
Monday?
Monday is like the last minute ad. You generally want it on Friday.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, yeah,
Otherwise, you upset your people you work with
You
on the other side.
okay.
Yeah,
And
so you
then,
want it on Friday, and it shows up on the following Thursday. So if you're the select board, you're meeting on Monday,
yeah,
you have to give your idea of your agenda. Otherwise, you're just posting a link to the
yeah,
meeting
gotcha.
page
Okay,
a week
Okay.
out, 2 weeks ahead of time,
Yeah.
whatever works out to do.
okay.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night,
Thanks,
everyone.
Todd.
I'll be-
Good.
I'll have to log on to Zoom later for the last discussion. That's going to be dinner for.
Okay.
And do we have a budget for?
No,
do we have a
I have no
for
budget.
that?
no.
Zero.
Tonight, you mean?
No, for ads in the paper.
Oh, I don't
No,
know.
I don't have the budget for it. I would need a funding increase in my budget to do that.
Okay,
I mean, my staff, planning, PRB, Board of Health, we have one, so I run more boards than anyone else. I
Yeah.
can afford to do it.
okay.
Okay, thanks, Todd.
It was $230 to run the tax sale notice one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like $200 for a town plan hearing. So with Brooks Change tonight, we ran a $200 ad to the trustees. So every time I run something, it's a couple $100. It adds up.
Well, I mean,
My budget's
there were
$1,500.
many questions on the docket, and that was the only one that went through. And, it may have had Brooks' name on it, but he was not the only person concerned.
Oh,
So
great, yes.
I don't wanna put that $200 on Brooks.
No, I'm just explaining the cost of the ad.
Okay,
Right.
Ads depend on the length. You could run a 2-sentence ad if that's what you want to do with
Yeah.
a link.
yeah,
That might be $30 a week
right,
versus a longer ad, which is
it's size.
$80 or
Yeah.
$100. It's all size
yeah.
dependent.
Mhm.
Size and maybe characters. Paper report,
Yeah,
paragraph.
it's
I
size.
think it's lines.
It's gotten expensive.
Well, it
It's the
depends if
lines.
it's a classified or if it's like an actual ad.
Right.
Yeah. And my budget's only, my discretionary budget's like $5,000 a year. It'll be a huge part of my budget, so I was going to do that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Todd.
Thanks,
Todd.
Todd.
all right, we'll move to discuss the town meeting format. Sarah, thank you for joining us.
Yeah. So, I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but the governor signed, an emergency legislation late Friday afternoon, S, 172. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention. It allows select boards to decide if, they think it's the best, for their community to switch town meeting to Australian ballot and/or, move it to a later date in time. I know a lot of the other communities have either voted in the county to move to Australian ballot, or they're discussing the options, and I just wanted to bring it before you because it just passed.
And a lot of them are going to Australian ballot.
Yeah, it sounds from the town clerks that pretty much most of Lamoille County that answered the email, we were all asking what was happening. Most of them, their boards have voted or in the process of most likely voting to move to Australian ballot
For this year.
for this year only.
So that would be everything we voted on from the floor is gonna go on the Australia ballot,
If you
if
vote,
we did that.
if you vote to do that.
And the other thing is Phil Scott has asked, in the letter to the legislature, he wants to have ballots sent out to all registered voters for all elections in Vermont in the future.
In the future,
Yeah,
or not just this year.
from now on.
But,
And is he gonna pay for it?
right.
That's
So
another
there's a
question.
letter, I just got today.
Is that the one you gave us?
Yeah, that I
It's
just
easy
gave
at the bottom
it to
right
you.
here.
Sorry I didn't give it to you sooner, but I just got it. Phil Scott wrote a letter to the legislators, so basically, he's asking he's reprimanding the legislature for when they just passed the Act 172 for not including mailing ballots to everybody, and he has asked the legislature to work with the Secretary of State's office to establish a timeline and process to achieve universal proactive mailing of ballots to registered voters for all elections in Vermont, and he's willing to work with you to fund this initiative.
So that'll be paid for on the state level, is what he's saying.
Don't count on it.
Not if you make a decision tonight, it wouldn't be, but
But
in
Phil
his
Scott is
letter
saying that.
In the future, yeah.
basically directing the legislature to look into it, and he will fund it. Is my take on that letter. I was a bit surprised to get that.
So we have two things to decide on. We
Can I,
have to-
sorry, can I clarify something before we go to what we decided?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry. So from my understanding, what, if we decide on Australian ballot, we have to fund it. There's no chance that the funding will come through in time for a town meeting?
I don't think so.
Not this one.
Okay. Okay.
So you want to talk about election first?
So changing the date?
So it's up to us. Do we want to have everything, all articles go by Australian ballot? And not do the traditional town meeting?
So currently, we have a hybrid. The Australian ballot is the select board members, and if there's any big ticket funding items for 5
Bonds.
years or more, or sometimes there's a non-binding article, but the majority of our articles are all on the floor at town meeting.
And this is just for this year, this is not forever.
Correct.
So
We gotta take into consideration, you got a COVID going on here.
That's
Can
the
you-
thing.
And you
Identify-
can't have
just
everybody at this meeting.
Identify yourself, please.
I'm Tom Cooley.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you got a pandemic going on. People aren't gonna be wanting to come to, this town meeting. And for any reason.
I don't think we've made a decision on it. I think we're just,
Right.
I'm just
talking about it.
my opinion on what the direction the board should go.
Well,
If you have a town meeting during the pandemic, there's gonna be some problems. So the
Sarah?
easiest way to do that is to send out this ballots. Now, if you want postage paid for return, well, that's,
right.
Sarah,
that's the discussion.
refresh my memory. Last year we did a hybrid
It's a hybrid.
meeting.
No.
We did an informational meeting, hybrid, I think. Not hybrid, but
No.
we did some kind of
Last year,
informational
the
meeting.
informational meeting last year was fully remote.
Remote. We were
It was all
here.
on
Yeah.
Zoom.
I know it's a
think the
blur.
board was here, and then
Okay.
the public was on Zoom. And then voting was only Australian ballot, and we mailed everybody their ballots, town and school, postage return paid. But we still had the polling place open for anybody that still wanted to do
Come in
it
person.
in person.
That's what I mean by hybrid.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Hybrid to me is,
No, hybrid is you can do either or. You come in or you don't come in.
So last town meeting, we had 3% of people turn their votes in person. That's what I have from an email you sent, Sarah.
I think so.
And then for the special meeting, we had 4% of people turn their ballots in person. And for town meeting last year, we had 32% absentee ballots and 35% voter participation overall. And then for the special meeting in December, it was 40% absentee ballots and 44% overall.
Yeah. Well, in a regular town meeting with no COVID, we get less than 200 people come anyway.
Yeah, we got about 160, which is 4%.
Yeah. So,
So it sounds like the mail-out ballots with return postage is the way to go because you get 43% of the people voting.
yeah, well, I think send ballots out, but not postage paid. That's my
I agree.
Sarah,
Least expensive.
is there an option, one of the people that, someone emailed me saying, can we send out ballots and then have the postage be COD? Is that possible? Is that even something that exists? I
don't know what that means.
That people could return their ballots without paying postage, and that we would pay their postage once it was returned to us. So we were only paying postage on the ballots that were
For the ones that
returned.
made it back?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't know, I've never been asked that. I know that mailing, ballots, there's like federal laws, so I don't know if that, like, we have to, bring them with separate, these tickets and stuff, because they get priority over other mail, that they get processed and mailed, first, so I don't know if that will work or not. What I didn't know before the special election, which I wish I had known to broadcast when we did the postage pay, was that we collected all of the envelopes that people returned, like they dropped them in the drop box, and they didn't mail them to us, and they gave us back those unused envelopes with the postage on them. We brought them back and got our money back. So if we ever were to go to the route of postage paid return, then I would need to do a big campaign. If you're not gonna mail it back, give me those envelopes too, when you come and vote to get. So we got a few $100s back in postage.
I think we would get more with your campaign.
But I don't know about
So what do we want to do
the,
for
your
the election?
question, Jess.
Correct.
I don't know if we get much choice. I think we need.
Well,
to mail-
the
I think we
decision
need
is
to
that-
mail a ballot and not with postage paid return envelopes. Just mail a ballot and, because we don't have any, I don't know if we have any way of knowing how many just get dropped off out here as opposed to coming in the mail, but, so, because if, you can put on all the campaign you want, but those people, if they're not gonna vote, they're not gonna make a special trip back here and bring an envelope back. It's got a stamp on it, so. I would make a motion that we have a hybrid meeting. Everything would be on the ballot, but you,
Don't call it hybrid, please.
okay, well, it's not a hybrid, it's a Bob hybrid meeting.
I wrote you a ton of choices of,
Yeah,
choices of anything I could think of you might vote.
Well, almost.
Or do we all
When I
have-
said hybrid, I meant you can come in person and vote, or you can send your ballot in. To me, that's a hybrid.
That's, yeah,
That's also just Australian voting, ballot voting.
Australian ballot voting, yeah.
Yeah.
And have the poll in place right here.
So, the location of the polling place is actually determined by the
The
BCA.
BCA.
So that's tomorrow's night
Tomorrow.
meeting.
So if we did Australian ballot, then we really wouldn't need a polling place, a place where they could drop off their ballots, but they wouldn't come in here to vote or wherever we're in.
No, they could.
They could still do that, okay.
Yep. It would just be like all of the elections that we've had for the past 2 years, basically. You
So-
still, anybody that, you can vote ahead of time and mail your ballot back, you can vote ahead of time and drop your ballot off here. You can go to the polling place, bring your ballot with you all filled out, put it through the tabulator, or you can show up at the polling place and
Fill your ballot out.
request a new ballot.
Vote the old-fashioned way.
How much money are we talking?
Well, the special election that we just had in December cost us about $7,000. About 5,000 of that was the postage,
Yeah.
and about 2,000 was the ballots and paying the BCA to run it and
Okay.
all of that sort of.
So what was your motion say?
Can we comment?
Go ahead. Well, Gary started to say a motion.
Yeah, that, well, I think it's unclear as to whether we can comment now, because. with the
Well,
town
usually
hall-
discussion happens after a motion is made and seconded.
Then I was.
Then you say,
interrupted him.
Yeah.
is there any further
We're
discussion?
about to comment, so I'm not sure if we can comment now, if that's.
Right. What was your motion?
The motion is to have town meeting as a Australian ballot meeting only with the BCA to decide where the polling place will be.
Is there a second?
Sorry, can you repeat that, Gary? I'm sorry. Your motion is to,
Motion is to have a Australian ballot town meeting with the BCA to determine where the polling place is going to be.
is that one of these on here?
Yes.
I have no idea. Let's see it.
Did you don't have that?
I think
I think it's the second one down.
Probably I do.
Okay.
I'll second it, Bob.
Okay, Brian seconded. Now we can discuss it. Go ahead, Laura.
Oh, the one thing, whoops, sorry. Well, I just want to make sure that we're not sending posted paid.
So Gary, are you saying?
Not yet.
Are you saying the one, I make a motion to mail all active registered Morristown voters their ballot for the 2020, is that the third one down?
So the ballots should be a separate.
The ballots is separate. This is, that's what I said, the top part is election, bottom part is ballots.
If you want to keep it traditional, how we have, where there's a floor discussion for the bulk, and then the Australian ballots just.
So only dealing with the election part of it, that's what the motion is
So right now, it's
for.
whether or not you want to move to all Australian ballot or not.
And that's what Gary's motion was.
Right.
Yes, and seconded by Brian.
Okay.
So now, discussion.
I deal with a lot of farmers and folks that aren't paying close attention, and they all think that they're going to get a ballot, because we've done it twice now, so, they just think, oh,
Right.
it's.
Well, this is a discussion for the next topic. We're talking election, not talking ballots right now.
Is it Australian? Okay, sorry.
Okay? That's the next one.
So we have two motions, like right now we're talking about the election, yeah, the next,
Yeah,
then we'll have.
this
the
is
ballot.
election first, then we're gonna discuss ballots.
Okay.
Just to trying to make it clear, because it gets clouded. So any further discussion on the election motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion is passed unanimously. Now, ballots. Now, does someone want to make a motion on this?
Wasn't the Australian ballot a ballot? Isn't that what we just voted on?
No.
Now we're voting.
This is how we're gonna deal with the ballots. The top part is how we dealt with the election.
If you were just going to come in and have a ballot where you color it in, or if you're going to go to the.
Okay, so this is the ballot part.
I make
Okay,
a motion to mail all active registered Morristown voters their ballot for the 2022 annual town meeting.
With,
No,
with postage or no postage?
no
Because
postage.
that,
okay.
Because that's a different motion. If it's postage, it would be a different motion.
Yeah, we have to say, you're gonna say with no postage, no return postage.
No, it doesn't,
Not
no.
necessarily.
That-
Okay,
yeah.
all right, I thought we had to specify.
okay, I have a motion by Gary. Do I have a second?
What's the motion again?
Second.
It's the third one, I think. it's
Okay, I thought it was the
bottom.
third one, but no
Third
return
one.
postage.
I
Okay,
have a second from Brian.
all right.
Okay, now we have discussion.
So my comment still
Okay,
holds.
sorry, Laura, sorry, can you just introduce yourself since we've been asking everyone else to do
Yeah.
that? I know who you are, thank you.
Yeah, no.
But everybody out there,
Laura Streets, I just would like to say that, again, I deal with populations that aren't actively involved, and the assumption is kind of universally that they've received ballots for the past 2 years, and they just think that that is now the new standard. So I have concerns that, and especially because of the communication issues and social media, I mean, there's millions of places that the message won't get out that they're not coming, and we'll have a very low turnout and vote, which is, and then we've got another PR problem, that people are gonna be angry they missed the vote, and it will seem as though there was something deceptive going on, when in fact, there isn't, but,
right?
so.
Okay, point taken. And I also want to say that when we decided before about the ballots, we made that decision based on the fact that we were facing, double-digit ballot or double-digit budget increases, And we're also not experienced a rise in COVID, Omicron, any of that stuff. So at the time, it seemed like a responsible decision to not, have the town have to pay $5,000 to $7,000. But this is a moot point, as Sarah had told me, wait a week and see what the governor does. The governor is saying that he wants to make sure everybody is gonna have their ballot mailed to them from now on. So,
How much does it cost? How much does it cost to mail in your ballot? How much?
To mail people their ballots?
No, no, I see that mailing people their ballots, and then how much does the individual pay per ballot?
52 cents?
55.
55 for the
The
person.
current letter
Okay.
rate, if it's not oversized, I'm not sure if other ballots
Oh, yeah,
are
because
oversized.
we get a discount, we have a postage meter.
You have a discount. So for the average person, do you know how much it would cost them to mail back in?
A normal letter is 55,
Right.
but this might be oversized, and so I don't know.
no, they're the same.
It's the same, okay.
Okay,
I wasn't
so
sure.
55 cents. And then how much is that gonna cost us to mail out?
So it costs about 3,000 to mail out, about
Okay.
2,000 to do the postage paid return, because when we mail it out, it's over weight.
Yes, okay.
But when they return the ballot, it's one stamp.
Okay.
So I have another concern, that
Is a question?
Yeah.
because they have been paid before, what's gonna happen if people mail it, with the assumption, and again, I'm considering our senior citizens and folks that aren't gonna see, do we run the risk of losing ballots, or, will the post office deliver at COD, and then we can address with cash on delivery, so, is there a way to, if they don't send postage, that we still make sure that it gets here?
So the post office, because their ballots, is supposed to deliver them anyways, whether or not they actually do.
So,
The question to the post office. There's a question, Chris, do you have a question?
More of a comment, if that's appropriate.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll make it really quick, I promise. But I just remember hearing stories from my grandfather about town meeting where you'd ride your horse, and it'd be a big potluck and the whole village would be there. And damn, I wish I could have done that. But we are in a different place and not even related to COVID, where town meeting is not the vibrant thing that it used to be. I think I heard $2,000 for the return postage. I think that's a small price to pay. We need to find it, put it in the budget. I hear chatter. That's what people are wanting. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
I'd rather put the money back into the library budget myself.
I'd put it somewhere else that wouldn't be in the library budget. Not with them just making $500,000.
A dog catcher.
There you go. There's a good cause. Anyway, so any more discussion on this?
I think what happens when we get to this point, and I think we had a similar discussion around the special election, was, okay, so we invested all of this person power and all of this money in getting the ballots out there, but then we're not gonna ensure, it's the easiest thing to get it back. And that's the additional, we're not looking at the $7,000 number, we're looking at the additional $2,000 for postage, the return postage. And so that's where I'm like, okay, if we don't include the return postage, do we lose on that investment, on the $5,000 it took to get it out there, between the postage out and the human power?
Also,
people have a responsibility to step up and do their civic duty.
Well, also,
Just
they
to
can
get
come
the
drop it
ballot
off in the box. They don't
Yes.
have to pay
They don't
that
have-
55 cents. They go by here, they drop it off in the box.
And people can even drive up here and we'll deliver a ballot to their car. They can vote in their car and we bring it in. There's all kinds of options available to people to vote if they really want to vote.
Exactly. I agree with that.
I think that you just had an election, or a voting with ballot, that you got 44% of the people voting.
It's because of the issues, not because of the way we did it. It's because of the
You
issues.
can say it's because of the issues, but is it, don't you think that the voting for select board of members is important, is the park place or?
It might be,
or
it
the
might,
school?
might not be. I'm not getting tons of emails about select board elections.
Well, you might.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's really important that we get the democracy is the people voting.
Well, we can vote here and find out.
You got 44%. Have you had 40 anywhere near 40% in any other elections here?
66% didn't.
Yeah,
That's an even bigger.
there you
Well,
go.
Oh my God, yes, but when you had the votes before, you had 4% voting, so 94% did not vote. You can't use that judgment. You got 42% of the people in this town voting the last election because you mailed out the stuff. I would think.
That's because everything you put on Front Porch Forum, Tom.
Well, when you're put this stuff out on it, but whatever,
Right.
you got the 42% of the people voting, which is what, as elected people, which you should be looking for.
Okay,
And
any other comments?
$2,000
Is there any other comment from anyone else? One more, Laura.
I have to say, I'm in marketing, and if you look at what's happening in the world, online marketing is exploding because it's easy. And if you make it little hooks and things that, where there's little hidden things that if you don't do it exactly right, or you're expected to do this, you're not making it easy. And so I think you have to decide, again, as public PR, that we should as a town want to get as many people to vote as possible, and just anticipate that it's going to be a cost of doing business going forward, and stop with all the little nitty-pick things, this and that. That's my opinion.
Okay. Well, I just think, voting is not about PR or marketing. It's about civic duty. It's got nothing to do with PR or marketing,
Right,
in my
I mean,
opinion.
That's true, but I also think that there's the reality that people have become accustomed to things being easy.
Make it difficult.
Right.
And also because of, not everyone's, some people are just really busy and don't have a stamp at home because everyone pays their bills online now, nobody writes letters, like maybe you sent out holiday cards, but who knows if you had stamps for those. I mean, I'm a really responsible, organized person and I don't always have a stamp at home. And just adding that additional step, like, okay, now I have the ballot in the car, now I'm gonna carry it around with me, I just missed the day. I think for the $5,000 investment we're putting in, to add the extra $2,000 postage paid is just ensuring that we're not making that initial investment in vain. But I've said that already.
Okay, so Gary, your motion was to not include postage, right? That's, as you
Correct.
read it, that's it.
That was my motion. But I got a question. Sarah, do you know, can we do that? Will they give you a permit, a mailing permit, so you only get charged for the ones that are used?
I think that was sort of like what Jess was
That's what
asking.
Jess
I
is-
don't know.
We don't.
Because because businesses or whoever, they go to the post office, they get the permit.
Right.
Permitted envelopes, they have the stamp right on them, permit, but then you only get charged for the ones that get used.
The one that says like no postage necessary is
Right.
another from the
Right.
United States, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm trying to look at my calendar, I'm not being rude on my phone. If you wanna, I really need a decision tonight
Yeah.
because I didn't order the envelopes, so I need to figure out if I can even get envelopes to mail them to everybody.
Right.
But
Well, we have a motion on the
you
floor.
guys have a meeting next week. If you want me to investigate a little bit about the return postage and you discuss about mailing back the postage paid portion next week, or you just wanna make a decision tonight?
Because I mean, I did make the motion without the without the postage, but it appears by popular demand that people would like, postage paid, but I'd like.
Well, everyone wants their postage paid, but.
Yeah, but I'd like to investigate the permit thing before, I mean, if that gives you time enough to make a decision, or is it gonna put you? at
Well,
crunch
because we
time?
already know, we already know that you're ordering the ballots, so you could order the ballots this week, right?
No, I can't order ballots because the deadline for candidates is next week, but it's the,
envelopes.
I need to order envelopes.
And the envelopes have to come pre-stamped.
No, they're not pre-stamped.
Okay.
So a decision about the postage paid could wait till
Right, okay.
next week.
Mhm.
But a decision if you're gonna actually mail them their ballots
Yes.
tonight would be greatly appreciated.
Are you
Right.
having a special meeting next week?
Isn't there?
No.
There's not.
No, there's no meeting for next
Yes,
week.
there is, there's a meeting on Tuesday.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah,
For
we'll
what?
sign the warning.
we're signing a warning
Well,
on
I didn't
Tuesday.
think you were having a meeting to
The
sign
budget.
it. I thought
But it's
you
not
were
a-
coming in to sign it.
Yeah, we're coming in to sign it. There's no meeting.
Have they approved it?
No, they haven't approved it, but they have to sign it on.
We have to sign
Tuesday.
off on it, but it's not
Yeah,
for a
but don't
meeting.
you have to have a meeting in order to approve it, to sign it?
No, we just have to sign the warning.
I thought we were having a meeting.
I thought they were having a meeting.
Not that I know of.
Sarah did
Yes,
too.
I don't know, but it's not on the schedule, that's what I'm saying.
No, it's not.
Special meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah, special meeting.
special meetings, yeah.
Bob,
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I
Um,
think you have to officially.
I'd like to just say that, I agree with Gary on not having them mail them back. I know of people who didn't do any and they left here. I actually have an envelope here. If I can find it later, I'll bring in because I walked in and did mine. So I'd just like to call the question and vote on it without postage back. I mean, the people, if they wanna, they'll find a way. They can bring it in. They can send it in for 50 cents.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, we could go door to door to people's houses and stand there where they vote and bring
That's the
them in.
next thing.
Yeah, I know.
It's gonna be
You
the
can't
next
make
thing.
people, you can't make them vote if they don't want to, or if they don't want to take the time. So I think definitely mailing them out. I agree with Scott that from now on, maybe that's the thing to do anyways. Mail them to the people. So everybody gets one. It will remind them what they should be doing. And if they don't want to do it, I don't see we should be pushing them. My thoughts.
Thanks, Brian.
I wonder if, instead of making a motion.
It's already been made and
Okay, well,
seconded.
okay, I wonder if we can we make an additional motion? We have to vote on that motion that's been made. We can, because I had the idea, like, can we vote on a motion to mail the ballots out with, and then say in that motion that we're going to discuss postage paid after Sarah
You
does
can
the
amend the
research?
motion.
You can
Okay.
amend the
And then we
motion.
can vote on the amendment. And
Okay.
then you can vote on the primary.
Okay, so I'd like to amend the motion.
Well, Gary has to amend his
Oh,
own
Gary
motion.
can, oh.
No, she
Anybody
can,
can.
You-
no, she can,
I didn't know she could do that.
yeah, she can amend it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to amend Gary's motion to say, I make a motion to mail active registered Morristown voters their ballot for the 2022 annual town meeting and decide at our next meeting whether or not to include return postage paid once Sarah Haskins researches an option of only paying for, this is very wordy, of only, that was in brackets, of only paying for the return ballots.
That wasn't in your motion, Sarah. The options.
Now,
Leave
I
it
didn't
to
think
me
of
to find the
everything
formula.
you would think of.
So I have a motion by Jess. Do I have a second?
Second,
Second by Judy. Is there any further discussion on this?
I'm concerned about the next meeting is only warned, I think, for us to have to sign the warning. So I'm concerned about pushing that off till next week.
Okay, right.
So I don't know, I don't know what
Yeah.
the proper procedure is and Eric's.
Well, I agree with you, Judy, and that's another thing. I think we've been pushing this stuff, pushing it. It's getting closer and closer and closer. So, but
I'm more concerned about whether we're able to.
Right. Yep.
Procedure to do that.
Procedurally, I don't think the meeting has been warned, so you can,
Okay,
right? Have you posted the meeting?
okay.
Procedurally,
You were okay?
time-wise, the clock is ticking.
All right.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Do we have a second?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
do we have a
said it.
second? All in favor, say aye to that.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay?
No,
No. 3 to 2, motion failed.
Now you gotta vote on
On
the
yours.
original motion,
Yes.
which was to mail all active registered Morristown voters their ballot to the 2022 annual town meeting.
Okay, that was already been seconded.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Any
so
further
the
discussion on that?
original motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
aye,
Aye. Any
I
opposed?
guess I'm saying aye, but it's not really what I want to vote for.
Okay, motion passed.
Aye with reservations.
Okay.
Did you vote?
Aye.
Gary did, Brian did. Okay. Boy, let's hope this is that all we need to do?
For town meeting?
Yeah.
Well, the governor has some pending legislation.
Yeah, he might change everything.
That I was hoping he'd sign, but,
Right.
no, but if I could take this opportunity, seeing as it's sort of on the same subject, there's pending, legislation, another bill that's on the governor's desk that he has not signed yet, that candidates, will not need the 30 signatures
Right.
for the petition. As of now, it's not signed by the governor, so petitions are still required. And now any local official that would be voted on the floor, like the lister, that's usually a floor vote, today will need a consent of candidate form and a petition with 30 signatures to get on the ballot. It could change this week, but.
I'm wondering about, Laura, you have a petition out for the farmer's market, yes?
Well, the board has one out for, they've turned it in for.
It's already in?
donations.
Okay,
Yeah, that was turned in.
all right.
The deadline for money articles, like the CERB, like that, has already passed. It was Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, that was shy 21 signatures to make it a valid.
Well, and just to comment on that, and again with petitions, because there's no big events, and, you know, it's absolutely impossible to, and because, you know, the numbers have increased because of the population, so trying to get 230 votes, you know, Mary was out, you know, in front of the voting place, and, you know, so it's, and I just want to say, it's, for any of the not-for-profits, it's a really unfair burden that, you know, that they're being put in this position to have to get all these votes. You know, and it's a tricky thing because we're in a pandemic, so, you know, and we've had 0 temps. So it's, you know, it's just really unfortunate because there's, you know, and I don't know if we're the only one, but it's really unfortunate because you're very potentially going to lose some incredible not-for-profits because we're caught in catch-22.
Can the select board decide to add that article without a petition?
You can. You have a policy that you should read before you do that and review your policy. But yes, you have the authority to put anything on the warning without a petition.
And you said that they were
21 short.
which means they got 180.
So there's a lot of people that sign it, but unfortunately are not registered Morristown voters.
Interesting enough, I know that she had 3 homeless folks at the post office. Just thought I'd throw that out there. I thought that was kind of interesting.
All right.
I thought the petition was the same as the candidate's petition, because I know I wanted to sign it, but then I forgot where I could go to go sign it.
Yeah, oh, thank you. Yeah, the total different.
Yeah.
Okay, anything more on that?
Maybe you can still sign it.
Yeah,
All right, we're gonna-
till Tuesday when you sign the warning.
Right.
Oh, no, the petition, the deadline was Thursday, not Thursday.
Okay, next. Signed Vermont Agency of Natural Resources Bryan Pond Parking Project License. That's a mouthful.
I looked this up. Can I wait, should I wait for the, a motion? I'll make a motion that we accept the license. Is that what we have to do? And, hold it for a second.
The signature page.
It's a signature page.
I second.
Okay, good.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion of it?
Yes, can you explain a little more about that? I know it's been on the agenda.
Well, that's the
before.
MCC.
About,
I thought this has all been decided, now it's just a formality of
Right.
signing the
Okay.
paper.
It
The
was.
reason it was on the agenda and then it, we're looking at it again was because, an abutting property owner didn't, for some reason said that they hadn't been informed, even though maybe they had been
Oh.
Right.
informed, and so there was a confusion.
And I also got an email about it too.
Yeah.
all right. Is it gonna be, is the parking lot gonna be built, like, I went on Google Maps to take a look at it, so it's gonna be built right near the pond? The pond's pretty small, isn't it?
Bryan Pond Road.
Yep.
Yeah,
So this is what happened.
beyond the pond on the right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right.
Right up at, almost where it leaves and the gate that stops everything from going up to the town forest. It's on state-owned land, and the only neighbor affected has written a letter in approving of this. Basically, no problem.
Okay,
Right.
sounds good.
Yeah.
Thank
So,
you.
any further discussion on it? All in favor, say aye.
This is Selena Rooney. I'd like to make a comment.
Go ahead, Selena.
Yeah, as one of the neighbors, we're opposed to having another parking lot up in the area, just because there's a parking lot right next to the town forest that takes care of traffic already, and we feel that a second parking lot will only add more traffic to our farm. And so the two farms up on the loop are opposed to having another parking lot added. And I have
Okay, thank you.
I have a letter here from the Bidwells. Randy doesn't have email, but I do have a letter that he wrote up and wanted me to share with you. It says, "Hello to all select board members. It's come to my attention that there is discussion about the building of a state parking lot on Bryan Pond Road for access to the town forest. I absolutely see no need for a parking lot at this location. There's already a huge parking lot at the end of Beaver Meadow Road that gives great access to trails to the forest already. This would be a very redundant project and obviously a complete waste of taxpayer dollars. If this parking lot were to be built, I'm sure it would be the town's obligation to keep it maintained, which ultimately the taxpayers of Morrisville would foot the bill. Not okay. Please do not sign this license in support of this project. Thank you, concerned citizen Randy Bidwell."
Thank you, Selena.
You're welcome.
We also have one in favor of, or from, this was a letter to Eric Dodge from Peter Christie. Peter and Brenda Christie said, "My wife Brenda and I own the land that abuts the proposed parking lot on Bryan Pond Road. We have been asked by Brent Taon, who wrote a letter endorsing the proposed parking lot. We have been advised that the project will not adversely affect our land and our enjoyment of it. We therefore have no objection to the proposed project."
Ron, can you speak to what Selena had to say about redundant parking spaces?
Well, redundant parking lot, it's a second lot.
Lot, yeah.
I'm sorry, but I couldn't get everything that she was saying.
Okay, she was saying that the parking lot that's being recommended for Bryan Pond Road is redundant because there's also another parking lot near the town forest.
The Beaver, she's saying the Beaver Meadow lot.
Beaver Meadow lot.
Sees a ton of traffic, and having a second parking lot would
Yeah,
increase
it's a
traffic.
secondary access to the Morristown Forest.
Yeah.
The only place you can park right now is basically on the town highway. We're trying to get more accommodation off from the highway itself.
Because people do park there.
Huh?
People do park there and access it
Yeah,
without a lot there.
right. Not only access that, but the state land that's open for people who want to have recreational rights.
Are the parking lots open year-round or just in the non-snow months?
I think that would have to be up to who's gonna
Well, that's plowed.
maintain the parking lot during the winter hours.
Beaver Meadows is plowed,
Yeah.
Beaver Meadows is plowed, we plow that.
and this would be plowed as well.
That's my understanding, yes.
Has there been evidence that the current parking at Bryan Pond is insufficient? Or is it, is part of the reason that you want to build the lot because you'll be building more trails and more access?
Right now, like I said, everybody has to park on the road system to venture up the trail, which leads to the Morristown Forest. And there's quite a few people that go in from that way. That's where I used to enter when I was doing the historical walks. And then we've developed more trails that are off from the Beaver Meadow parking lot.
Right.
But there's still, this is another access that gets to the forest. So this is basically Brett Tion's idea. He's done all the work with the state and come here to the select board to, it's quite a red tape trail.
Yeah, and I know a lot of people do use the road now. They park on the road, and we'd rather not have them park on the road.
Yeah, I guess I access from that area as well.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, because it's a great place, like, I never find it crowded, and I've rarely even seen another car parked there, so that's my question. I've seen Jamie, I think is the only other person I've ever seen there. It's great when you have a dog that's like my dogs are not always friendly to other dogs, I take them, but, so I am wondering, I don't want to squash the plan necessarily. I just am wondering, like, has there been a study about the necessity of the lot? I mean, because there is a little bit of a lot there. It's sort of a makeshift lot, but there's some spaces there already.
Well, we had to jump all the hoops with the environmental people at the state level. This is all been done.
Yeah.
So like I said, all the red tape is completed.
We're just the last signature.
I think maybe this is an unknown site because it's not publicized like Beaver Meadow is, which has accesses to Beaver Meadow Lodge, Whiteface Mountain. But in time, that parking lot may be crowded over there and more people will use this. Plus we can get it advertised more, put up signs. Right now we have the little box at the gate there that you can take a map out for the Morristown Forest. It's just to get a facility to get more people off from the road for parking. Might even be overnight, you know, if they go hiking and things like that. And legally, you aren't supposed to park on the town highway.
Okay, Selena, isn't it true that if this lot is built, there'll be less traffic on your road past the farm up there?
Unfortunately, no. Every hiking place that I've ever been to, the more lots you add, the more traffic you actually add in the long run. In the short run, for Beaver Meadow Road, the traffic will be decreased for probably the next 10 years, but then after that, it'll steadily increase as both lots will probably fill up. The other thing I just want to add for people that haven't been there is that when you get to the Beaver Meadow lot, the access to the town trails, it's right there. The town trails to the town forest start right at the Beaver Meadow parking lot, and the border for the town forest is less than 200 feet from the current parking lot.
This sounds like the town's gonna have to take care of this parking lot after they,
Right, it would be maintained by the town.
and if this budget crunch that you're talking about, by not building this, you could save that money and put it into the balance.
Well, that's not gonna add a lot.
No.
You gotta turn around there anyway.
We go in and maintain the road anyway.
Yeah.
But, you're talking about.
It's a stretch, but yeah.
But you're talking about the, the budget
Oh, yeah.
problem. And it's a kind
Is there any other comments?
of,
We have a motion, right, and a second on the floor?
Yes, we're in discussion mode.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to find that on Google Maps. See if I can-
Oh, you don't, do you know what we're talking about?
I can't, I've been up and looked at I walked the area where Ron wants to build a parking lot there.
Right.
I'm not familiar with the Beaver Meadow parking lot.
Oh, that's
Oh,
like the
that's
best
at the
one.
end of Beaver Meadow Road.
Right at the end of Beaver
Yeah.
Meadows.
Yeah, I know where it is, but
Oh, you're not seeing
The
it?
trail
I'm
starts right
not
there.
familiar with how far it is from one to the other.
It's pretty close.
Yeah.
Yeah. As it's through the woods, it's very close.
Yeah.
Not
If
on.
you take the loop on the trail, it's not.
Yeah,
It's over the river and through the woods.
yeah. If you're walking or, yeah, it's close.
In times past, what I've done is park a second vehicle over Beaver Meadow
Right.
parking lot, and then ventured in from the Bryan Pond Road. Before we had the trail that made shortcuts from one place to another, but now we park at the Beaver Meadow parking lot and see a lot of the forest, and more of it because we have trails that are in interior.
Great.
But before, when I was doing my historic tours, it was basically us on the old town highways, and that was very long, and I'm getting older for that,
Okay. Any more discussion before we vote on this?
See if I can find it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right,
Any opposed?
Nay.
Motion is passed, 4-1. All right. Next is Town of Fletcher Sander offer.
Yes, the town of Fletcher is, we've got a bulldog halter that we purchased a couple years back as a pilot test to see if it was something we could use in the village area or in our industrial park area. And eliminate having to have another single axle with a side dump option to spread salt. And this was, as I said, a pilot that we tried to do with Dan and I had talked about. And it was just, it doesn't spread the way a truck does, obviously. It spreads right out the back of the truck versus off to the side. So you don't get that traction that you need. They're electrical and backwards. So it's something that we haven't been using this year, and it's too nice of a unit just to let set and not do anything with.
Yeah.
And Fletcher found out that we had it, and they're interested in it, so they can go and take a look at it. That's the proposal that's in front of you now.
And that's a pretty good offer then.
That's a very good offer, yes.
What page are we on?
48.
I see it, thank you.
Do I hear a motion regarding this?
Make a motion that we sell the stainless steel sander to the town of Fletcher for $8,500.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Judy and a second by Gary. Is there any further discussion on this?
Is there a blue book value? Are we getting the value we need to out of it?
Well, I purchased it, when we purchased it, it was $10,200.
Okay, and
Yeah.
how long ago was that?
About 2.5 years now.
Yeah, I remember when you bought it. Yeah. It's not bad.
Okay, I don't know how.
Yeah, no, I know. Good question.
Yeah,
Good question.
okay.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is passed. All right, next, award the cleaning contract. Okay. And this, you guys have the bids?
Do we have
And-
the actual bids, or this is?
Yeah, well, these are the ones here.
Oh, I didn't, okay, thank you.
Yep. The bids and the contract. Yeah. You just wait for, Judy's gonna come back here. I think the meeting's getting too long when people have to take potty breaks.
I know.
Well, I hope Eric feels better.
I know.
I did hear he did test negative. It's not a COVID-related illness. It's just like a flu or cold, bad cold or flu. Which is not small either, but hope he gets well soon.
Yeah.
No, the
Brian
cold season.
also, Brian, I can hear you coughing a few times. How are you doing?
That's good. I try to shut it off when I do, but I've had this is going on the second week. It was
Wow.
worse than the COVID.
Really?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Take care of yourself.
Oh yeah, I tried. That's why, I don't come in as I'm feeling better, but the minute I cough, somebody goes, "Oh my God."
Yeah. You're like, it's not COVID.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah, get out of here.
Okay, Judy's back.
Were you waiting for me?
Yes. Now, I will make a comment before we go ahead and do it, is that there's 4 bids, and I do know Michelle Fellows very well. She cleans Concept 2 currently, and she does an awesome job. So I don't know, I also know Stacy Bovine, but I don't know of her cleaning skills. But before we do it, but I know that Eric he's got a possible motion there.
So, I'm always looking for, what is the quality we get for the money we pay,
Right.
And I don't, like, we have 4 bids, but we don't, for one of the bids, we don't have an actual dollar amount. It would just be $200 per cleaning, so I don't know how many
Right.
cleanings.
So Bob, I spoke to Eric a little bit about this.
You did?
Yeah, and Michelle also cleans over the sheriff's department.
Oh, she does?
She's done that for quite a while. They talk very highly of her. This cleaning position is fairly unique because of the sensitive information that's here, as well as the sensitive / classified information at our office.
Sure.
There's also a background check they have to go through to be able to clean at our office, which the sheriff's office does as well. So I know that Michelle her quality of work is, I've heard nothing negative about that, and that's why we're recommending that the motion is for her.
Yeah, she also lets us know about other things she finds in the building. She's called me before and there's been a problem with the building and I go over and she's right, it's like she's very in tune with everything. But not to take anything away from these other folks, but she's also the low bidder, so.
Well, we don't know,
I
we
don't know
don't
if
have
she is. To answer Jess's question,
Yeah.
where you're going, is the $200 per cleaning?
Yeah,
Yeah, so that would be, let's see if I have that right, Tina. It'd be
200 a week, right? So
Well,
400 a week.
400 a week.
So 1,600 a month is the Anne Marie.
Oh, so that is lower.
bid. So she is $250
Okay.
cheaper.
Okay.
So, just so that's clear.
And we don't look for like recommendations, or, it seems like, you know, we'd want to know maybe like if they had experience cleaning other high
Right.
sensitivity places, or,
Yeah, we kind of did that with Michelle. I mean,
Yeah.
we know that she cleans over the sheriff's department. I didn't know
Right.
she cleaned it.
Concept
Concept too,
for a long time,
But,
many years.
I just know that she can be trusted, and I mean, their eyes are visible to what's left
Right.
on guy's desk and
Right.
officer's desk and so forth.
Mhm.
right, okay.
What do we want to do?
I make a motion, we hire Michelle Fellows to clean the town offices and the police department.
You know, the number,
Number what?
For
Oh,
$1,850
sorry.
a month.
For $1,800, $1,850 a month.
okay. I have a motion by Judy. Do I have a second?
I thought you meant her phone number.
I'll second it.
I have her phone number.
Okay.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Do you know anything, or did you talk to the Anne Marie Putvane?
I personally did not. No, I believe she came, she was one of the 4 that came and did the walkthrough here and our office, but when they were at our office, I wasn't there, so.
So you don't know if she could pass a background check or anything like that, so.
No, I don't know that.
It seems like the fair thing to do would, I don't know, ask for recommendations, or, I mean, because there is another lower bidder, and, I don't know. But, I guess we don't need to complicate the process either.
You're right. Well, if it doesn't work out, maybe we can look at
Right,
it.
right.
Well, I like the fact that Michelle was cleaning for the sheriff's department, so she's very trustworthy.
What'd you say, Gary?
The Putvane person, $200 for cleaning, is that per building?
No, I don't think so. I don't know, her bid was a little bit unclear. I myself think that that probably is, I think she said in her email, where is it?
Twice a week,
It's
cleaner for a couple buildings twice a week. I'm interested in the job, and I have the area 7 days a week.
Jason, is your building cleaned once a week?
Twice a week right
twice
now.
a
Oh,
week.
twice a week. What is it cleaned here?
Twice a week as well.
Yeah.
Oh, so it's 4 times a week. Okay.
Right, so I don't know if it's
Still applies.
It's more-
200 per building, or
It's more than $800. It's more than $1,600 a month.
Right, right.
Yeah, that would be, yeah,
So it'd be,
Be 32.
be double that.
yeah.
yeah.
Be 3,200.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you clarified that,
Yeah.
Gary.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion is passed. Okay, next. Discuss improvements in communication with the public.
I'd like to suggest, even though this is really an important issue, given it's 8:45, and I'd like to be a little fresher to have a conversation about this.
Are you falling asleep?
No.
I am. I gotta get up in now, 5
I know,
hours.
your bedtime in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I just think
Well, it depends if we have a big discussion. I just wanted to, I'm going to have this put on the agenda because I feel, and I'm sure the rest of the board does too, is that it seems that the information from the town to the public isn't given out in the best way. It's limited, it seems, to just the website and that. And I know I disagree with Eric. I've had multiple conversations with him because he really doesn't like social media. And I maybe don't either as far as Facebook goes, but I do agree as a PSA, public service announcement, like on Front Porch Forum, that's very helpful, even your job postings when you put those on there. And I don't see why we couldn't, on a Friday when the agenda comes out, you know, the packet comes out, you also post that on Front Porch Forum. So everybody knows that follows that it's what the meeting's gonna be. So Tom doesn't have to do it himself, he's been doing it lately. But that way you come from the town, and I know, like I said, I know Eric doesn't feel that way because he doesn't want things put out in different ways, but we can say just that. This is an announcement, this is not to respond to, don't respond to the author. Just a way to get more information out there. Maybe there's other ways too. I had actually spoke a little bit with Tommy Gardner about the paper, and I intend to speak with him some more about it, about having a way to have that information put out in the paper as well. There's no doubt there's, in just what we've seen with the town plan and what's going on there, and in every issue we've had, that there's the feeling that we're not being as forthcoming as we could be, or if you want to use the word transparent, as we could be. And we don't want that. We want the public to know everything we're doing. We don't hide anything. As long as I've been on, we've never hid anything from anybody. If somebody asks, well, we may not have the answer. If you call me home or come to my door, I may not have the answer, but I can get it for you. And we want to always be that way, as well as being accessible. I know I always put my phone number right on every post I do, and people call me. Of course, that's comes with the job, and also with Jess and the rest of the board. You know, you put your email on there, and it's great that you do that, by the way. And I think all of us should be accessible to the public, not just me, the whole board. And really been thinking about it a lot, been getting a lot of, not necessarily negative comments, but mostly negative, some positive ones. And I think it's important. We live in a different time right now. We have much different way that information can be processed, you know, through people's phones, their iPads, their computers. It's a different world than it used to be, and just going to a website is only one narrow way to get things done. And maybe, I know Eric's idea, that's the traditional way. You want to know what's going on, you go to the website and look it up. But you know, people are lazy. You know, they want to be able to have that information in front of them. And anybody that subscribes to Front Porch Forum will have it. You know, they'll have what the meeting's going to be and what it's going to be about, what we're discussing. And I'm thinking even the DRB meetings. You know, the DRB meetings, Planning Council, as we can see from this whole town plan thing, we got to start advertising Planning Council meetings. You know, I think instead of the last hour, whatever I call it, the 11th hour, people come in want to make changes in the town plan because they never even heard what was going on. We have the information with the Planning Council out there, so people can be involved and get more involved. That's my 2 cents. I don't know if you agree with that or could elaborate more on it. Feel free to say whatever.
Well, I just want to add that Front Porch Forum Johnson Selectboard meeting is on. They advertise on here every week.
They do.
Yeah.
Whenever
they have one.
Did they just say they're having the meeting, or they post the
No,
agenda?
it says we are having our next select board meeting on Monday, January 17th at 6:45. Please be aware that individuals attending the meeting in person are required to wear a face mask. See, and it gives a link for the agenda and the packet. And please join us in person or use Zoom with the passcode to get into Zoom.
That's good. I know that not everybody, I've been using Front Porch Forum to get volunteers to work at Habitat for Humanity, our house on Maple Street, putting a plug in for volunteers. And someone approached me on Sunday and they've never heard of Front Porch Forum. So there are still people out there who don't have access to it or don't know it exists.
Right.
So I think it's a good place to start.
It's another avenue.
Yes, it is. And I'm also interested in we had a community-wide meeting in 2010, 2011, where a group from Montpelier who was facilitating meetings for the community, we did some visioning. And I think we really need to revisit that kind of a process again, which will take money and other resources. So just some thoughts that we might want to toss around. Getting that information out in print somewhere is great, but I think we need to do some other outreach to the community too.
That's good. I wanted to add one more thing to what I said, is that I know it puts a burden on you more, Sarah, to, you know, to put that on Front Porch Forum, you know, but I'm hoping it's not too much to ask you to do when you're doing the agenda, if you just do that for Front Porch Forum, you know. I know if it takes more time, it takes more time or whatever, but, you know.
I think just putting a link on there to the website, because if someone has a computer, then they can access it, but if they don't have a computer, they don't have any access to the town website. Right. If they don't have internet.
I didn't know about Johnson, that's good to know that.
Yeah, yeah, I've noticed that for a while now, because I get all 7 towns, I guess. So.
Right.
But,
how are you so lucky?
and I think, well, it came when I was on the legislature, I get all that. And so I've kept it up, because it's pretty handy. You get Western, Hardwick, and Cambridge, Johnson, Hyde Park, Morrisville, Stone. So I don't.
That's a lot of information.
It is, and it's almost a day's work just to read that one.
Yeah.
But, no, I agree. I think we really need to get everything out there that we possibly can, because we're getting a lot more interest in a lot more issues than we've ever had before. You're getting a lot of people that are coming in that never heard from before. You know?
Yeah, we used to never have anyone here except for the department heads at meetings.
And it's good. I like it personally. The
People
more
are interested, but they're not. You got a great site, you have the town site, to get in there, to find, first of all, you gotta find the select board. And that takes, you know, to go to find out where the meetings are, it's a lot of work. And people that, like me, I'm not really good at going through computer stuff. You know, we just say, well, let's see where else we can find information. And it's good it's there. And it's good that you put it out on Front Page Forum. There are thousands that do have that. If you put it out, even Facebook, you got 2,400 people, Morristown, Facebook. I mean, I don't know how much that works either. But, and even the radio, just to announce, the radio will do it for free. That's a public announcement. The select boards will be meeting to discuss whatever.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, you're doing.
I did want to also say, I know that Sarah and Sarah have done a lot in the past few weeks to make things better for communication, and but I think there's always room for improvement too.
Yeah, I think I have a few thoughts about it all. One is that I think the website is really important, and I do use the website to access the agenda and minutes. But coming from my background as someone who redesigned websites for the company I worked for, I think we went through 3 iterations. You know, web design changes really rapidly based on the marketplace and what people become accustomed to. There's a whole field of user interface. You know, like there's people who go to lots and lots of school to discover and to study how people interact with computers and what's the best way to get people from point A to point B, right? Because there's a lot of money in that. Our website, to find that select board minutes and agenda, there's a lot of steps. There's like 4 or 5 steps to get there, and that's terrible user interface. I mean, if you're looking at how do we get someone from getting frustrated or distracted, you know, we just don't it's really old school. You have to know that the select board is not under the town tab; it's under the government tab. I mean, that's just requiring way too much knowledge for the common person who's never been involved with town government. So I think it is absolutely important for the website to remain as it is and to work as it is, but like you're saying, I think we just need to make it all more accessible. Front Porch Forum is a nonprofit. It's not a corporation like Facebook. So I put a lot more stock in Front Porch Forum, and they also, you know, they review all the posts, so you don't find a lot of stuff that's really like out there. And I like the idea of talking to Tommy at the News and Citizen, or it might be, you know, their ad rep, who I think is Brian Mescat.
Yeah, it is.
He, about, you know, how to best, you know, how to optimize our dollars for running ads. You know, classified ads could be really inexpensive. If we're just warning the meeting, it doesn't have to be the big, long, I don't know if I don't know what the rules are. It seems like if we're just saying, select board meeting is at this time, find the link, it could be tiny and inexpensive. Or it could be in the community calendar. I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be an ad, right? Okay, so that would be free. And like, I like Tom's idea of having it announced on the radio, WLBB, or,
I like that idea.
yeah, I love that idea. I listen to LBB all the time.
I know the marketing guy for that, Frankie Allen too, I could call him.
Yeah, Roland.
And Roland LaJoy.
Yeah, but Frankie's the one that handles all that, I can call him.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I think what all of this will do is, like you're saying, like it'll communicate back to the public that we are trying to be transparent, and also it'll help people, like if they become more accustomed to knowing where to find the information, that's better PR. And then we won't have so many people at the 11th hour feeling like they need to say something because they've been keeping up.
And a lot of it's good. A lot of it's very good. But
right. I mean, we want to be making the decisions based on what the people in the town want.
Oh, yeah.
We don't want to be like.
And it'll give us a lot more information to be able to make a more informed decision.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like tonight, you listen to the audience and just on the ballot thing, you know.
Right.
It's, you know, you can change your mind.
Yeah.
Just by listening to
exactly
testimony that people give.
The people, I think, the people out there have doubts about the board because they don't understand what's going on. And the information, what you do, is not getting to the people. So I know you're not holding back, but the information is just not getting to the people.
Right. You're a good example of that, aren't you, Tom? When now that you've started coming to meetings, you see it differently?
Yes, well, the information didn't get to us.
Right.
So, I mean, you want to get it to them. Now, how to do that, you know, that's been the problem. And once, I think that once that you get the information out and the people see what you're doing, you get more input, and there'll be, you know, better decision.
Well, I think,
and we get a chance to stay here longer at night.
yeah. Well, this is a good start. Good.
Yeah, I think so.
We don't need to make any motions, just discussion. We'll
like
move it
to
forward.
bring it back.
Yeah, we'll bring it back.
Just so you know, the platform, for the website it's pretty outdated, it's pretty antiquated.
I wasn't trying to tell you that.
Yeah, no, I knew you were thinking.
I'm sorry.
Sarah and I would love something in the budget for a
Yeah.
better website.
Me too.
I don't have a background in that, I'm all self-taught, but.
Same here. I just used to design and then work with the developer.
But we're very limited to what we can do. I listened to Front Porch Forum and I created all election pages last week. There's a huge drop down with like 10 different sub-pages with hopefully everything you need to know about elections. But it's so cumbersome, it's not how I would love it.
Not user-friendly.
I think it's not as user-friendly, but it's the only way that the software allows me. And it took all day.
We do need to.
Slow.
We need to. This is a bigger conversation because we need to look at updating the website.
But then, I mean, that's really good information too. That that's something else we could post on Front Porch Forum, like for election information. Here's a direct link, and you know we can shorten the link and make it, or just even, you know, and that way we're helping people navigate to where they need to get to, regardless of like how outdated the site is.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
Well, let's continue the discussion. I think that's good for tonight. Let's move on to the next. Approve the warrants. Do I hear a motion to approve them?
Second.
I have a motion by Gary and a second by Judy. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? The warrants are passed. We don't have a TA report because we don't have a TA with us tonight. So we'll move that to the next one. Select board concerns, Gary?
I think we've done enough for tonight.
I think that's a good concern.
I think we've answered, we've had a lot of concerns here, not necessarily select board concerns, but, I think we've come a long ways tonight in a couple hours here with, learning about things that we need to pay more attention to.
Yeah, that sounds good. Judy?
Ditto.
Yes. Jess?
I don't have any concerns, thank you.
Great. Brian?
I'm all set.
Great. And I agree with Gary and Judy. It seems like we have gone forward. It does, makes me realize you have to listen to all the people and what they want, you know. I've thought that before, but, you know, to bring up the ATV thing one more time, I would have thought that the ATV issue, if it went to vote, would pass. And I was absolutely wrong. I was, you know.
The whole board at
So
that
wrong.
time
Yeah,
thought that at the beginning.
but
But
you know.
You were out, here's what, you were out of touch with what the people wanted. And that's because there wasn't a way for the people to express.
Exactly. And I think the Oxbow meeting helped that a lot too,
Yes, it did.
for sure.
I think so,
But the vote did for sure, and I'm glad that we decided to take it to vote.
yeah.
So, but and along with that, you know, the more people we can get involved in things, you know, it kind of,
Better decisions come out.
it's disheartening to me every year at town meeting when there's 150 people there making decisions for millions of dollars that the town spends. You know, it's just sad to me, but, you know, the more people we can get to come to these select board meetings, the better off we're gonna be, for sure.
I guess, sorry, the only concern I have, and it's not really a concern, is when we'll approve all the articles for the ballot, now that we've decided to do that, go that route
That's
for town meeting.
Tuesday, isn't it? That's next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday? Okay.
Next
You have to
Tuesday.
sign the warning on Tuesday.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
But you're gonna have a meeting on Monday, is that what you're
No, I
gonna?
think that Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Special meeting on Tuesday to approve them?
To sign the warning, but I don't know if there's, I just know it's a signing the warning, so I don't know, Sarah, you can speak
I'm
on that.
pretty sure that you have to officially have a meeting and approve it.
So maybe that's the same
I
thing.
thought-
You're gonna do it.
Let me look at the website, I think it's Monday.
I know,
Yeah.
why we
There was
next
something on
Well, if
Tuesday.
something
Can I-
happens
can I-
and you're looking at the warning and you don't like what it says and you want it updated, you can't do that all in one night.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you should approve it and then have a later date where you could sign it.
I didn't make up the,
Right.
I don't make them up either, but I'm just saying
You
that
just
I don't
have to
be
do
signed
it by
on the
next
25th.
Friday because
Yeah.
I statutorily have to post it, but when do you need it for the town
It does
report?
say
says Tuesday.
I'm sorry,
When do you need it for the town report?
The budget.
I would like to have it by the 31st.
Okay.
Well,
And I
it
need-
has to be signed between the 24th, I think, and the
and the
30th or
30th.
something like that, by law. It has to
And
be signed in that
Tuesday
timeframe.
at 6.
Yeah. I don't know why, I don't know why it's Tuesday, but it was posted a long time ago.
Because the reason that it's Tuesday is because that's the first day that you can sign it.
Oh, okay.
You have to
First
sign
time
it, you've got a
available.
10-day window
Yeah,
in which you can sign it.
yeah.
So we're just signing it that night, that's it?
Well, I would
You're-
think you want to approve a
You gotta
warrant
review
first.
it, approve it, and then,
Okay, that's the language on the ballot.
No, this
Is
is
that what
the
we're doing?
budget.
This-
it's everything.
It's everything.
It's
All the
it's
articles.
all the
All
town
the
warrants.
articles.
It's everything.
Okay.
It's a warning for town meeting.
So, if we're looking at, like, for instance, not a nonprofit who who couldn't get their signatures on a petition and wants to be an article on the ballot, should we look at that before our next meeting?
You have a policy on that. and
Yeah, we
how
can't.
that's
It's too
supposed to
late
do-
for that.
How you're supposed to handle that. So that has to be reviewed, I would think, before you want to make any kind of other choice.
Yeah, But there's a timeline with that, and we're past the timeline because someone else missed it. Ron missed it last year
Right.
for being in an
Well,
article.
we could have, the select board could have added that he missed the timeline for the petition, right?
Yes. There was
Nope.
another nonprofit that came in last
They
year.
wanted it, yeah.
And-
E equals MC squared.
Yeah.
Well, I think there was another one that came in,
Yeah,
and
there
they
was-
wanted to up their,
And all the Turner.
yes,
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
yes.
right,
And
yeah.
Recovery center.
we
yeah.
said no. Only because setting a precedent.
Right, set a
So
precedent,
the select board policy is that you have to have a petition to get on it,
yes.
so.
And we can waive it, but that would set precedent to do that.
If we just wait, if we made an exception, it was like.
We have to do it for everybody. So the other thing I did want to bring up, and I felt like I was really put on the spot last meeting with the library. And that was about the numbers that we had from the auditors, which we got from the finance office, and the finance office was correct. And I know they felt, maybe betrayed or that we weren't behind them, and that wasn't the case at all. Maybe that's how it sounded or came across, but I totally believe those numbers that the auditors had given us. The fact that the endowment of the library had made over $500,000. Their endowment was 1.7 million and not 1.2 million. But yet Stephanie sat there and was she's acted like that wasn't correct, or in the way she worded it, that, oh, well, they have a fiduciary responsibility to not spend that money, and, they don't want to dip into their endowment, and it made us, I remember holding up the sheet and say, well, our number's bogus then. And I know that Tina and Paula, they worked very hard on that stuff, and I know the finance office is always, very correct. They're the only department in the whole town that is under the microscope. The auditors go through everything they do with a fine-tooth comb, and they've never found anything that they've done to be inaccurate. And I know those numbers were accurate, and I'm not happy at all with the result, because I felt like the library was really critical of us, for making that decision to cut the funding a little bit, thereby making them dip into that endowment. And I know that it's a case where, I have my 401k, same thing, like I spoke earlier tonight, it's substantial, and my advisor doesn't want me to take $50,000 out of it either, but you can, it's just a question of redoing the numbers, and it wasn't a situation where, oh, they're gonna have to fire some people or cut back hours. That's not true, and I feel bad tonight, and I take responsibility of the fact that I didn't speak out, and say, look, we know our finance department is correct, and we know those numbers are right, because the auditors verified them. And I feel like now, not only me, but the rest of our board didn't stand behind our finance department, and I feel bad about that, and I wanted to say I'm sorry.
Thank you, Bob.
I felt
I
like,
appreciate that.
yeah, it really makes me mad now that for some reason or another, they were looking at some different figures. But that is, in fact, their endowment is $1.7 million. And they made $500,000. And that's the reason we decided to cut that funding a little bit, the allocation. And there was nothing wrong with us doing that. And I know you voted against it. And the library is a great thing. I've never had anything to say bad about the library. I know we didn't have to have that whole presentation. I knew what they did anyway. But the fact that on such a down year where we're looking at double-digit increases in the budget across the board, they made $500,000 and they didn't want to cut what we were going to give them, their allocation. And I'm pretty disappointed in that. And I'd like to see some more numbers from Stephanie, because I'm not happy about that at all. And I feel bad for our finance department, because I know they felt really betrayed by us, because of it. Those numbers were correct from the auditors. So I just want to point that out and bring it up. That's all I have to say about it.
Well, thanks for clearing that up, Bob. That was, I couldn't understand. I know it's a spot in time, but a $500,000 spot is quite a lot of time.
Yeah.
And
What I should have done that night is said, okay, what is that endowment right now? What is it worth? We know what it was worth last year. It was worth 1.2 million last year. What is it worth right now? And we know now it's 1.7.
yeah, and it's probably higher than that now.
It's probably higher than that now. That doesn't matter, but
No, it doesn't, but.
anyway.
I guess, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I feel regretful that we would have called the expertise of our finance department into question, because I certainly didn't intend to do that at all. It seems like the better route would have been to have a back and forth discussion about what the numbers really meant, because I'm still confused about, like, I also don't want to cast aspersions on the library to say that they would intentionally mislead us. So I just want to get to the root of, like, are we talking apples to apples?
Right.
Why can't you, why do you feel that you can't tap into the endowment? Like asking the library that, why would there be a discrepancy? What is the window we're looking at here? Asking them to explain the difference, and then maybe shedding some light on it.
We need to do that.
Because because Bob, I know you're saying to cut the budget a little, but we were talking about cutting our appropriation down to 45% of what they asked for.
They're still giving them quite a chunk of money
Right.
when they didn't need it.
Okay, well, yeah, I don't, and what it sounded like to me too is that taking that financial hit would have hurt their employees, because it's a similar situation as to our town employees, where we're looking at the 5-point-something% COLA increase. I'm just saying, I too was confused. I don't understand the root of the discrepancy, but I also don't want to throw it back on the library to say that they were intentionally misleading us, because I can't imagine that was really what was going on. Maybe it was.
Something was weird.
Yeah.
I don't know that she was trying to mislead you. I think she was telling you what her financial advisor advised her, but she never told you the dollar amount in the endowment fund in amongst her discussion.
Right.
So I don't think she was trying to mislead you necessarily, but she didn't tell you that information. That's the information Paula and I put together for you, and all we were doing was just providing you information. We weren't trying to, say you should or shouldn't do something. It's just information. That's all we wanted to give you, and it was directly from the audit.
Right.
And I apologize if I apologize if I offended you. I didn't want, that wasn't the intention, but I think what you're saying is very spot on, is that there wasn't any intention of the library people to mislead us. And I wasn't here for the initial discussion, so.
But I do think.
I apologize, because I know the two of you do a great deal of work, and I always trust whatever you're telling me financially is happening.
Thank you. That's appreciated very much.
Absolutely, yeah.
I think we do need to, like Jess said, to follow up with Stephanie and find out why those numbers weren't apples to apples, or what numbers she was coming up with, because it's obviously different than what we saw, and that's what we went by, was what we saw. So, anyway, there'll be more to follow with that, because I intend to explore that some more.
Get that your high horse now.
Oh, yeah, I don't like that. I don't like our staff losing confidence enough. We trust you 100%.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't want to ever make you feel that way, that we betrayed you, because Tina, I've been around a long time with you. I know you're spot on with your numbers, and I know the auditors, they check you. I meet with the auditors often. I meet with them when they come do the audit. They ask to meet with the chair, and so I sit down with them, and they're like, those ladies are the best. They are spot on with everything. I have never had a reason to doubt you guys, and I know you're right. So I'm sorry. That's what I said.
Thank you very much for that.
I appreciate it. When you have those conversations, with Stephanie, I think it would be beneficial for us to also know.
Yes.
Because then it gives us an opportunity
of when we're presenting those numbers and we're giving them to you.
Yeah.
To sort of have that, ask those questions and have those conversations beforehand.
Yes.
Kind of eliminates what happened because you were sort of on spot, if
Yes.
you will, and you're reacting to the immediate situation.
Exactly. Well, I'd like to have a meeting with maybe you folks and the library, maybe one of us, or, you know, a couple of us and Eric, and sit down and hash it out. You know, we need to figure, we don't want this to be an adversarial situation. We need to have it be open book and everyone figure out what's going on. So, anyway, that's all I have. I didn't mean to make the meeting longer, but I really wanted to say that because it's been bothering me a lot. So, all right, do we have any old business?
No.
That was quick. Okay, do we have any other business?
No.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
I have a motion by Judy,
A second.
a second by Jess. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Brian? Oh, you're not sleeping?
Not yet.
Okay, we are now adjourned.
Thank you so